There's something called the Osiris Shaft, which is located directly under the causeway between the Sphinx and the second pyramid. It goes about 100 feet underground. It's carved out of the limestone bedrock. It's the creepiest place I've ever been in my life.
Ready to unearth Egypt's deepest secrets? From hidden chambers inside Tutankhamun's tomb to the elusive labyrinth of Hawara, we're counting down the top 10 mysterious tombs that have never been opened. Legends speak of untold treasures, lost pharaohs, and ancient curses waiting to be discovered. Starting this list off today in our number 10 spot, we have the tomb of Herihor. Amidst the towering columns and sacred halls of the Karnak temple complex, the elusive tomb of Herihor continues to captivate historians. Herihor was no ordinary figure. Originally a high priest of the Amun, he boldly declared himself pharaoh during Egypt's tumultuous Third Intermediate Period. Yet, despite his audacious rise to power, little evidence of his burial site has ever been found. Some speculate that his tomb could be hidden within a secret chamber of Karnak itself, filled with treasures and inscriptions that chronicle a time of political intrigue and religious upheaval. Others wonder if his final resting place was deliberately concealed to protect his legacy from rivals. The discovery of Herihor's tomb could unlock a treasure trove of artifacts and scrolls, shedding light on a shadowy chapter of Egyptian history. As each new expedition delves into the ancient ruins, the possibility of unearthing this lost tomb adds a layer of excitement and mystery. Could the next turn of a dusty corridor finally reveal the secrets of the self-made pharaoh who dared to redefine his destiny? In our number 9 spot today, we have the lost labyrinth of Egypt at Hawara. Hidden beneath the sands near the Fayum oasis, the lost labyrinth of Egypt at Hawara remains one of the most tantalizing mysteries of the ancient world. Described by historians like Herodotus as a colossal underground complex with thousands of rooms and winding passages, it's said to have rivaled even the grandeur of the pyramids. While archaeologists have uncovered some remnants that hint at its existence, the labyrinth itself remains largely unexplored and unopened. Legends speak of vast halls adorned with hieroglyphs that could unlock secrets of forgotten dynasties, or perhaps even chambers guarding untold treasures and mystical artifacts. Some theories suggest it was designed as a giant puzzle intended to protect sacred knowledge from falling into the wrong hands. The mere thought that such an architectural marvel lies waiting to be rediscovered definitely ignites the imagination. Could the lost labyrinth be the key to unraveling mysteries that have eluded us for millennia? In our number 8 spot today, we have the Big Void in the Great Pyramid of Giza. Hidden within the towering limestone blocks of the Great Pyramid of Giza, there is a massive unexplored cavity known as the Big Void. Discovered in 2017 through the innovated use of muon radiography, a technique that detects particles from cosmic rays, the void sits mysteriously above the Grand Gallery. Its sheer size suggests it wasn't an accidental space or a simple architectural flaw. Could it be a secret chamber built to house untold treasures or sacred texts from a bygone era? Some speculate it might even be a concealed passageway designed to protect the pharaoh's journey to the afterlife. The lack of access points has kept this mystery sealed off from the world, fueling countless theories and a sense of wonder. As we stand on the brink of new technological breakthroughs, the possibility of uncovering what lies within the Big Void keeps the world eagerly watching Egypt's ancient sands. In our number 7 spot today, we have the hidden chambers of Tutankhamun's tomb. Nestled deep within the Valley of the Kings, Tutankhamun's tomb has dazzled the world ever since its discovery in 1922, but recent radar scans have reignited the excitement by hinting at hidden chambers adjacent to the young pharaoh's burial site. Some archaeologists speculate that these secret rooms could be the untouched resting place of Queen Nefertiti, one of ancient Egypt's most mysterious figures. The possibility of uncovering new treasures and untold stories has the archaeological community buzzing. Could these concealed chambers hold the key to mysteries that have puzzled historians for decades? As technology advances, the anticipation builds, and the sands of Egypt may yet reveal more of their timeless secrets. In our number 6 spot today, we have the tomb of Imhotep. Deep within the ancient sands of Saqqara lies one of Egypt's most captivating mysteries, the undiscovered tomb of Imhotep. Known as the brilliant architect who designed the Step Pyramid, the world's first colossal stone structure, Imhotep was so revered that he was deified after death, a rare honor bestowed upon few mortals. Yet, despite his monumental impact on history, his burial site has never been found. Archaeologists speculate that unearthing his tomb could reveal groundbreaking insights into Old Kingdom Egypt, possibly containing ancient scrolls detailing the origins of pyramid construction or medicinal texts that predate modern knowledge. Some even whisper about hidden chambers filled with artifacts that could rewrite everything we know about ancient engineering. The quest to find his tomb isn't just about locating a lost grave, it's a race to uncover secrets that have been buried for over 4 millennia. In our number 5 spot today, we have the Dagger of Thutmose III. The Dagger of Thutmose III is more than just an ancient artifact, it is a chilling legend that has captivated historians. This ceremonial dagger, belonging to one of Egypt's greatest warrior pharaohs, is crafted from an iron meteorite, giving it an uncanny aura as if forged from the stars themselves. Discovered hidden away in a secret chamber beneath a forgotten temple, the blade remains impossibly sharp, its surface etched with hieroglyphs that no scholar has been able to fully decipher. Tales abound of those who have dared to hold the dagger. Archaeologists and tomb raiders who met mysterious and untimely ends shortly after coming into contact with it. Accidents, sudden illnesses, and inexplicable disappearances have all been linked to this mysterious weapon, fueling whispers of a pharaoh's curse that transcends millennia. Is the dagger merely a relic of a bygone era, or does it serve as a deadly conduit for ancient vengeance? In our number 4 spot today, we have the Curse of Tutankhamun's Tomb. In 1972, the eerie whispers surrounding King Tut's curse stirred once more, capturing the world's imagination. To honor the 50th anniversary of the tomb's legendary discovery, a collection of the young pharaoh's artifacts was set to journey from Cairo to the British Museum in London. The night after overseeing the delicate handling of these ancient treasures, the director of antiquities at the Cairo Museum unexpectedly passed away, sending shockwaves through the archaeological community. Rumors swirled that the curse had claimed yet another victim, but of course the ominous events didn't stop there. The crew aboard the aircraft transporting the artifacts began experiencing inexplicable misfortunes. 3 airmen who had interacted with the relics suffered sudden heart attacks shortly after the flight. Each year, on the exact anniversary of the flight with King Tut's possessions, he endured a heart attack until the final one proved fatal. Was the pharaoh's curse reaching out from the sands of time to exact vengeance on those who disturbed his eternal slumber? In our number 3 spot today, we have Qam Abu Bilo. The tale of renowned Egyptologist Zahi Hawass takes a haunting twist when connected to the mysterious site of Qam Abu Bilo. One day, while transporting ancient artifacts from this archaeological dig, Hawass received devastating news. His aunt had suddenly passed away. Exactly 1 year later, on that same unsettling date, his uncle died unexpectedly. This pattern didn't stop there. The following year, again on the identical day, his favorite cousin met an untimely end. The eerie sequence of events couldn't be ignored, and soon newspapers buzzed with whispers that the curse of the pharaohs had targeted his family. Although he personally dismissed these claims, stating, quote, "Fortunately, there is really no such thing," the chilling coincidences left many wondering whether some ancient curse had been unleashed. Could the artifacts from this site carry a malevolent force that transcends time, or were these tragedies merely ill-fated coincidences? In our number 2 spot today, we have Kentika Ikaki's curse. Deep within the ancient sands of Saqqara lies the tomb of Kentika Ikaki, an official from Egypt's mysterious 6th dynasty. This burial site isn't just a relic of the past, it's wrapped in spine-chilling legends that have intrigued and terrified adventurers for centuries. Etched into the very stone of his mastaba is a haunting warning, quote, "As for all men who shall enter this tomb impure, there will be judgment. I shall seize his neck like a bird, and I shall cast the fear of myself into him." These aren't mere words, they're a formidable curse aimed straight at the hearts of would-be tomb raiders. Stories swirl about those who ignored this dire message. Explorers met with sudden, unexplainable misfortunes after trespassing. Some say his spirit still guards his resting place, ready to unleash dread upon anyone who dares to disturb his peace. And finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have Ankh-Tifi's curse. Deep within Egypt's shifting sands rests the tomb of Ankh-Tifi, a provincial governor from the chaotic First Intermediate Period, time where the Old Kingdom's unity was fracturing. His burial site isn't just a monument to his status, but a fortress guarded by some very ominous words. Etched into the very stone is a stern warning. Quote, "Any ruler who shall do evil or wickedness to this coffin, may Heaven not accept any goods he offers, and may his heir not inherit." The ancient Egyptians believed such curses held genuine power, calling upon the gods to protect the deceased and unleash divine wrath upon defilers. Tales whisper of those who dared to violate his tomb, only to suffer inexplicable misfortune, sudden illnesses, financial ruin, even untimely deaths. Enchtefi's tomb stands as a chilling testament to how the spiritual and physical worlds were intertwined, using the threat of supernatural retribution to safeguard eternal rest. Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have the unlucky mummy. The unlucky mummy isn't actually a mummy at all. It's a hauntingly beautiful painted wooden mummy board of an unidentified woman tucked away in the British Museum in London. But if walls could talk, the tales this artifact would tell might send shivers down your spine. Back in its early days at the museum, staff members began reporting unsettling occurrences. Loud banging noises echoed through the exhibit halls at night, seemingly emanating from the mummy board itself, as if something trapped within was desperate to break free. One intrepid photographer decided to capture its image, but when he developed the photo, he was met with a horrifying surprise. The serene face on the mummy board appeared twisted into a malevolent grimace, eyes glaring with otherworldly intensity. The eerie events escalated when a museum guard was found dead under mysterious circumstances after his night shift near the artifact. Whispers of a curse began to circulate among the staff, and the museum allegedly couldn't get rid of the mummy board fast enough. It said they sold it to an American archaeologist who arranged for its transport to the United States aboard none other than the Titanic. Some believe that the cursed mummy board sealed the ship's fate, its malevolent energy contributing to the tragic sinking that shook the world. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Osiris statue. In 1971, deep within the sands of Saqqara, an experienced Egyptologist unearthed a small yet mesmerizing statue of Osiris, the ancient Egyptian god of death. The artifact was remarkably well preserved, its intricate details capturing the solemn gaze of the deity as if time had scarcely touched it. As dusk settled, the archaeologist and his assistant returned to their modest quarters in a nearby village. Drawn by the statue's mysterious allure, he decided to keep it with him for further study. Later that evening, he headed to the bathroom to freshen up after the grueling day, and moments passed before his assistant was jolted by harrowing screams echoing from the bathroom. Rushing in, he found the archaeologist gripping the sink basin, his face etched with sheer terror. Quote, "He stood there as if paralyzed," the assistant recalled. Quote, "I grabbed him by the shoulders and guided him to the couch. Then I ran to call for help." Medical professionals arrived to find the archaeologist stricken with sudden paralysis on the right side of his body, his speech lost to an inexplicable affliction. Despite their efforts, he passed away the very next day. Whispers began to circulate among the locals and the archaeological community. Had the statue of Osiris unleashed an ancient curse? Tales of doom befalling those who disturb sacred relics resurfaced, casting a shadow over the discovery. Was it a mere coincidence, or did the god of death extend his reach from the realm of the dead to claim another soul? In our number 8 spot today, we have the Egyptian relic. In 2007, a chilling tale unfolded involving a German man who visited the legendary Valley of the Kings near Luxor. Enticed by the allure of ancient history, he pocketed a small, intricately carved Egyptian relic as a keepsake from his trip, but what seemed like a harmless souvenir soon became a harbinger of doom. Upon his return to Germany, he was struck by an inexplicable fatigue and fever that baffled doctors. His condition rapidly deteriorated into paralysis, and shockingly, he passed away soon after. Before his death, or perhaps just after, his stepson received the artifact along with a desperate plea. Believing that a pharaoh's curse had claimed his stepfather, the stepson anonymously returned the stolen carving to the Egyptian embassy in Berlin, hoping to restore peace to his family's tormented spirits. This eerie incident mirrors the notorious legends of curses befalling those who disturb Egyptians' tombs, like the mysterious deaths that followed the opening of King Tut's tomb? Could it be that an ancient curse still lingers, waiting to unleash their wrath on unsuspecting souls? In our number 7 spot today, we have the mummies. In 1699, a Polish nobleman embarked on a voyage from Alexandria, his ship's hold carrying an unusual treasure: 2 ancient Egyptian mummies he intended to study for their reputed medicinal properties. As the vessel navigated the serene waters of the Mediterranean Sea, an unsettling atmosphere descended upon the crew. Late at night, the nobleman began experiencing eerie visions, spectral figures drifting through the shadows of the ship, their eyes hollow and fixed upon him. Whispered voices echoed in the corridors, and unexplained chills ran down the spines of seasoned sailors. Realizing that the mummies might be the source of these otherworldly occurrences, he made a swift decision. Under the cloak of darkness, the mummies were cast overboard into the depths of the sea. No worries about the history there. Remarkably, as soon as the waves swallowed the ancient remains, the haunting ceased and an uneasy calm returned to the ship. This chilling account, recorded by Louis Pennecher in his treatise on embalming, leaves one to wonder: did the restless spirits of the mummies seek vengeance for their disturbed slumber? It's tales like these that blur the line between history and the supernatural, reminding us that some artifacts might carry more than just the weight of the past. In our number 6 spot today, we have King Ahmose I's mummy. In the lively halls of the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, a young boy grappling with a severe illness found himself irresistibly drawn to the ancient wonders on display. Amidst the towering statues and glittering artifacts, he paused before the mummy of King Ahmose I. As he locked eyes with the pharaoh's preserved visage, something incredible happened. A warm sensation washed over him, and a newfound energy surged through his body. Miraculously, his long-standing ailment began to fade, leaving doctors completely confused by his sudden recovery. Filled with awe and gratitude, the boy immersed himself in the world of ancient Egypt, eager to uncover more of its timeless mysteries. Could this mummy have possessed healing powers, or was this just a remarkable coincidence?
Mummification is one of the most iconic aspects of ancient Egypt, and it's also pretty disgusting. But how did the Egyptians perfect the art of preserving the past? The process of mummification was essential for the journey to this afterlife that I talked about, but the techniques the Egyptians used still baffle modern scientists. While we know that resins, oils, and wrapping techniques were employed, there's still so much to learn about how the Egyptians managed to preserve bodies for thousands of years. Thousands of years! That's crazy. Some researchers suggest that the Egyptians might have had advanced knowledge of chemistry and biology, far beyond what we'd expect from their time. But how do they manage to achieve such remarkable preservation, sometimes even down to the cellular level? That part makes no sense. The art of mummification is one of the greatest technical mysteries of ancient Egypt. For centuries, the pyramids have been thought to serve as tombs for all of these pharaohs, but some researchers propose a more complex function. The sheer scale and alignment of the pyramids suggest they might have served as energy generators, astronomical observatories, or even symbolic representations of the sun's rays. There's also the possibility that the pyramids were part of a much larger cosmic design, connected to the stars and the cycles of the heavens. Yeah, it's a lot to take in. Some even argue that they may have been used for ritual purposes or to mark sacred locations. Now, despite the overwhelming evidence that the pyramids were tombs, their precise purpose does remain an open question, with new theories emerging all the time, just like these pharaohs. Greek historians spoke of a labyrinth near the pyramid complex of Hawara, a vast underground network of chambers and passageways filled with treasures and inscriptions. Now, despite many attempts, the labyrinth has never been found, and some believe it may have been destroyed or hidden over time. Could it still be buried beneath the sands of Egypt, just waiting to be uncovered by us? Now, if the labyrinth did indeed ever exist, it could hold valuable insights into the religious practices, culture, and the history of ancient Egypt, perhaps even revealing clues about the origins of the pyramids themselves. That would be a pretty neat find. The Egyptians worshipped a pantheon of gods and goddesses. There's all many shapes and sizes, they're all unique and cool, each representing different aspects of life and nature. But where did these gods come from? Were they inspired by earlier lost civilizations, or were they symbolic representations of natural forces like, say, the sun, the Nile, or even the earth itself? Now, despite years of study, the origin of Egypt's gods still remains a mystery. Some scholars believe that the gods were based on real historical figures and or events, while others propose that they were entirely mythological. Now, what is clear now, however, is that these gods played an essential role in the daily lives of ancient Egyptians, and understanding their true origin could of course unlock deeper insights into Egyptian culture as a whole. After thriving for over 3,000 years, ancient Egyptian civilization eventually began to decline. Now, the reasons behind this fall are still a matter of debate. Some historians point to invasions from foreign armies like the Hyksos or the Persians, while others argue that internal factors such as political instability, famine, and environmental changes also played a significant role. Now, despite Egypt's enduring strength and wealth, the ultimate cause of its decline still remains elusive. Some believe it was a combination of internal and external pressures, while others think that it was natural evolution of the civilization's power and influence over time. Now, regardless, the end of one of history's greatest civilizations is still shrouded in mystery. There's much more to come. The Great Pyramid of Giza isn't just a massive structure, it's a testament to ancient Egypt's brilliance. Built around 4,500 years ago, this colossal tomb stands at a staggering 481 feet tall and is made up of over 2 million limestone blocks, some of which weigh as much as 15 tons. My back hurts just thinking about that. But how did the Egyptians manage to build such a colossal structure with such precision that long ago? Did they use ramps, pulleys, or something else entirely? Early theories suggested ramps, but none of them fully explain just how the blocks were moved into place or how they achieved such perfect alignment with the cardinal points of the compass. The Great Pyramid is so precisely aligned, even modern builders would struggle to match it. Trust me, I live in Toronto. I've watched them build the same subway station for 8 years straight. Still not done. Perhaps what it was back then was that the ancient Egyptians had access to knowledge that was either lost or never documented in the first place. Some researchers speculate that the pyramid could have been part of an ancient system of knowledge, now lost to time, that we may never fully understand. The more we learn, the more questions arise. Cleopatra VII, the last pharaoh of Egypt, and her lover, Roman general Mark Antony, remain one of the most famous figures in history. After they tragically, supposedly took their own lives in 30 BC, they were believed to have been buried together in this lavish tomb somewhere near Alexandria. Yes, somewhere out there. Good luck, grab a shovel. Despite the best efforts of archaeologists and historians, no one's ever found their final resting place yet. The tomb is thought to be hidden beneath the Mediterranean, with some experts suggesting that it was deliberately concealed to protect it from looters, ergo us now. Could the tomb be submerged, or is it still hidden somewhere beneath the sands, just waiting to be discovered? The search continues day after day as the lost tomb of Cleopatra and Antony remains one of Egypt's greatest unsolved riddles. If you found it, would you open it? The so-called Curse of the Pharaohs gained notoriety after the discovery of King Tut's tomb in 1922. A series of mysterious passings among the members of the excavation team, including the sudden passing of Lord Carnarvon, the tomb's financial backer, of course sparked rumors of this curse placed on those who dared to disturb the pharaoh's final resting place. I kind of believe in this curse. Honestly, if curses are real in some degree, this has got to be one of them. While many believe these passings were simply coincidences or the result of exposure to bacteria, others are convinced that there's more to the story. Did the ancient Egyptians really believe that their tombs held supernatural powers capable of punishing grave robbers and explorers? While most historians dismiss the curse as a superstition, it's impossible to deny the strange coincidences surrounding these events. The idea of supernatural forces protecting royal tombs adds an eerie layer to Egypt's already weird mystical history. The Book of the Deceased is one of the most important texts in Egyptian culture, a collection of spells and rituals designed to guide the dearly departed through the underworld and into the afterlife. Now, while we may have examples of these texts, small little teases, the true meaning and full significance of this book still remain a mystery. The rituals described within it were thought to help the deceased navigate trials, face divine judgment, and eventually, hopefully, be granted access to eternal life. But how did the Egyptians believe this book worked? Was it simply a symbolic representation of their hopes, or did they believe that by following these spells, they could truly interact with the gods? The book's complexity and the varied interpretations of its spells suggest that it was more than just a guide. It was a key to unlocking the divine. The Great Sphinx of Giza is one of the most recognizable symbols of Egypt, right? We saw this in our math textbooks for some reason. But what lies beneath it? Ancient texts refer to this mysterious chamber hidden beneath the Sphinx's paws, possibly containing treasure or lost knowledge. Now, despite extensive exploration and attempts to uncover these hidden spaces, no definitive evidence has ever been found. Again, yet. Some believe that the Sphinx could be much older than traditionally thought, perhaps even predating the pyramids themselves, believe it or not, suggesting it might have been guarding secrets from an even earlier civilization. Others propose that the Sphinx holds the key to understanding an ancient cosmic or spiritual system. Until these chambers are actually found, the Sphinx's silent gaze remains an enduring mystery.
Heraklion was an ancient city with grand temples and statues sitting on the coast of the Mediterranean. Then it disappeared entirely, sinking into the sea. This once booming port city in Egypt was written of by ancient writers, but no one knew where it went. That is, until 2000, when underwater archaeologists rediscovered it off the coast of Alexandria. Turned out the city had sunk, probably because of rising sea levels and earthquakes, but there are other theories. What archaeologists found, though, was mind-blowing. Huge statues, temples, even a harbor that had been sitting on the sea floor for centuries. So what happened? Was it a natural disaster or something else? Some people think the city may have been deliberately buried, but whatever the cause, the rediscovery of Heraklion was one of the greatest archaeological finds in history. It helped historians paint a better picture of not just ancient Egyptian life, but their connection with the rest of the Mediterranean world. The Great Pyramid of Giza is a masterpiece of ancient engineering. You probably don't need me to tell you that, but how on earth did the Egyptians move these massive stones, some weighing up to 80 tons? Well, here's a fun theory. Some believe the ancient Egyptians somehow made the stones float. Sounds like science fiction, but I'm not talking about stones floating in the air, at least not entirely. There are a few ideas floating around, pun intended. Some think the builders might have used water to reduce the weight of the stones, floating them over waterways. And yes, there are also conspiracies and talk about long-lost advanced technology that they had access to that literally allowed them to levitate the stones. Of course, mainstream Egyptologists don't subscribe to that idea, though, saying the stones were either moved using a complex system of ropes and ramps and pulleys, or the water thing. The ancient Egyptians were huge fans of Ra, the sun god. They built massive sun temples dedicated to him. We have depictions of these temples in the form of hieroglyphics and art, and though some of these temples have turned up, one just a few years back even, many of them are still nowhere to be found. No one really knows what happened to them. Some of these temples would have been destroyed by natural disasters, others just disappeared over time, buried by the desert sands, or could have been destroyed by invaders. Sun temples were important for both religious and political reasons. They were places of worship, but they also symbolized the power of the pharaoh. Why they disappeared is still up for debate. Maybe their influence waned, maybe they were targeted to be destroyed by later rulers who wanted to build something new. Whatever happened to them, though, the lost sun temples are one of Egypt's greatest mysteries. Now let's get a little weird. In the Dendera temple, there's a set of reliefs that have been confusing people for a very long time. These carvings seem to show what looks like an electric light bulb. The reliefs show what appear to be figures holding large bulbous objects connected by snakes, which some people interpret as wires. And yeah, it's hard not to look at this and not see a light bulb. Could this be evidence that the Egyptians had access to electricity? It's a theory that gets a lot of attention, especially from those who believe that ancient Egyptians were even more advanced than we already think. Most Egyptologists say the so-called light bulb interpretation is a stretch, though. They think the carvings are just symbolic representations of Egyptian religious beliefs, not ancient electrical devices. Still, with all the incredible stuff this society churned out, and how much mystery still surrounds them, it wouldn't be surprising if they had access to technology that was well beyond their time. Finally, let's talk about one of the creepiest mysteries surrounding ancient Egypt, the curse of the pharaohs. According to legend, anyone who disturbed the tomb of a pharaoh would suffer a curse, leading to illness, misfortune, or even death. This myth really came to life in 1922, when the tomb of King Tut was discovered. Shortly after the tomb was opened, several people involved in the excavation died under mysterious circumstances. Most famously, Lord Carnarvon, who financed the dig. People started to connect the deaths to the curse, and the story became one of the most notorious urban legends in history. In fact, stories like this are part of why videos like the one you're watching right now exist. Egypt started to gain a reputation in other parts of the world as being a strange and mysterious place. Of course, many of the deaths can be explained by natural causes. Carnarvon, for example, died from an infected mosquito bite, but the curse of the pharaohs helped spark this interest in ancient Egypt over in the West, and that interest has never really gone away. Ancient Egypt's lost labyrinth, mentioned by historians like Herodotus and Strabo, is a legendary structure that's eluded archaeologists for centuries. According to ancient descriptions, it was located near the foot of the pyramid of Amenemhat III at Hawara. The labyrinth was said to be a massive complex containing over 3,000 rooms in a series of underground tunnels, all laid out in this seemingly impossible pattern. It was so vast that Herodotus claimed that even the most experienced travelers got lost inside. Herodotus also described the labyrinth as having a central structure that was so impressive it even rivaled the Great Pyramid of Giza. It was described as being filled with chambers, statues, and the tombs of kings. Strabo, a Greek geographer, also mentioned that it was larger and more complex than any other structure in Egypt. At some point, the site was destroyed though, either completely by natural events like earthquakes or deliberately buried and forgotten over time. As for why it would have been intentionally buried, some think it may have had something to do with Egypt's changing political landscape, that some ruler chose to erase its memory. Nefertiti, the beautiful and powerful queen of the 18th dynasty, is one of the most famous figures in Egyptian history. For years, historians and archaeologists have speculated about the location of her tomb, but it's still never been found. She was the wife of Pharaoh Akhenaten and the mother of Tutankhamun. In 2003, British archaeologist Nicholas Reeves set off a new wave of interest in the hunt for Nefertiti's tomb when he came out with a theory about her tomb being hidden behind a false wall in King Tut's tomb in the Valley of the Kings. The theory is based on the idea that Nefertiti, who was believed to have ruled briefly as pharaoh after her husband's death, could have been buried alongside her son-in-law. Scanning and imaging technology is getting better by the day, and it's been used to search the area for hidden chambers, but no one has found any conclusive proof that Nefertiti's tomb is there. Now let's talk about the Great Sphinx. This iconic figure with the body of a lion and the face of a pharaoh has been sitting at the Giza Plateau for thousands of years. Most scholars believe it was built around 2500 BCE, during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre, but there are also alternate theories. Some researchers are convinced that it's way older than that. How much older? Well, some think it could date back as far as 10,000 BCE, which would blow the conventional timeline out of the water. But why do some researchers think this? Well, the Sphinx shows signs of erosion that look more like the water damage than wind and sand erosion, which would make sense if it had been exposed to heavy rain long before Egypt became a desert. Some archaeologists think that the Sphinx was built by some much older civilization, and the Egyptians later rebuilt it during Khafre's reign, but for now, it's still a mystery. Was the Sphinx built during Khafre's time, or was it a relic of an even older, mysterious culture? Next, let's look at the Step Pyramid of Djoser. This is the first pyramid ever built, and it set the stage for the massive stone structures that would follow. The pyramid was designed by the famous architect Imhotep and built during Egypt's third dynasty, around 2700 BCE. But beneath the pyramid is this network of tunnels and chambers, and no one really knows what's down there. Archaeologists found a ton of passages, crypts, and even strange inscriptions, but some chambers are still unexplored. People think there could be more hidden chambers below ground, maybe secret rooms with treasures, or who knows, even more royal tombs. And what's even more interesting is that with today's tech like ground-penetrating radar, we're able to scan these areas and see things we didn't know existed. But even still, despite all the scanning and digging, there's still a lot we don't understand about the Step Pyramid. So what could really be hiding down there? Cleopatra, she's the stuff of legend. Last queen of Egypt, lover of Julius Caesar, and later the tragic lover of Mark Antony. After her death in 30 BCE, she and Mark Antony were said to be buried together in a tomb somewhere in Alexandria, but no one has ever found it. And it's definitely not for a lack of trying. Archaeologists have been on the hunt for Cleopatra's tomb for years, but even with the countless expeditions, the digging, the underwater searches, it's still never been found. Some think it might have been destroyed or hidden deliberately. Others think it could be submerged under the waters of Alexandria, which has been slowly sinking over time. The fact is, we don't know if it's out there waiting to be found or if it's been lost to history forever. Cleopatra's tomb might be one of the greatest archaeological discoveries ever, but for now, it's still an unsolved mystery. What you're looking at here is a massive 100-ton artifact, dubbed a black box, found in a cave system about 12 miles south of the Great Pyramid of Giza. This is just one of 24, and we still don't know exactly what these thousands of year old boxes were built for. They're made of solid Aswan granite. Again, they're incredibly heavy, and it's not even clear how these things were carved and transported. The engineering is remarkable too. These things are smooth as tabletops on the inside and outside. They also have hieroglyphics carved into them. Question has always been though, how were these incredibly heavy slabs of stone transported from rock quarries to their current location? Just another unsolved mystery of ancient Egypt. Back in 2020, archaeologists made a huge find in a necropolis south of Cairo. They uncovered dozens of ancient coffins. Khalid El-Anani, Egypt's antiquities minister at the time, said that at least 59 sealed sarcophagi were discovered, most containing mummies, buried over 2,600 years ago in 3 wells. The discovery was announced at the iconic step pyramid of Djoser in Saqqara, where the coffins were displayed. At the event, one sarcophagus was opened in front of reporters. Saqqara is home to at least 11 pyramids and a number of tombs from different eras. And these recently found coffins belong to priests, top officials, and elites. Among the finds were 28 statues of Ptah and a bronze statue of the god Nefertim, inscribed with the name of its owner, a priest named Babi Amun. Alright, this next one's actually pretty entertaining. Just a little reminder that people never really change. Recent findings reveal that ancient Egyptians had a very unique way of tracking employee time off. A limestone tablet known as an ostrakon, housed in the British Museum and dating back to 1250 BCE, gives us a glimpse into the work-life balance of ancient Egyptians. This tablet lists 40 workers and details the days they missed, along with reasons given like illness and family duties. The absences are organized by season and date. For instance, on month 4, winter day 24, a worker named Pendub missed his shift because his mother wasn't feeling well and he had to take care of her. Of course, a lot of workers took off work because they were sick or injured. One name that's listed is Hainafer, who had eye troubles. There's also Seba, who was bitten by a scorpion. And another reason for not coming into work was brewing beer. This actually shows up a number of times. Beer was a staple drink in Egypt and was actually considered a meal. Anyway, just goes to show that people struggled with their work-life balance just like we do today. Although I don't think calling into work because you're brewing beer is gonna go over very well today. What you're looking at here is Pharaoh Khufu's sarcophagus. It may not look like much, but it's actually an incredibly impressive piece of engineering. It was made from a single piece of granite weighing about 3.75 tons. It's so large that it couldn't have been brought into the burial chamber after the pyramid was completed, so it had to have been placed there during the pyramid's construction. And what makes this sarcophagus even more impressive is that it was hollowed out from the inside, and it has holes that look like they were made with some kind of drill. So the question is, how did people in ancient times with what we think were primitive tools manage to create something like this? The effort and skill needed to make Khufu's coffin, like so many other constructions from ancient Egypt, just seems very ahead of its time. In 2015, something unusual was detected at the Great Pyramid using thermal cameras. Researchers found higher temperatures in 3 stones at the bottom of the pyramid. The Egyptian Antiquities Ministry had a few possible explanations for these heat spots. You figured they could be empty spaces within the pyramid, internal air currents, or just variations in the building materials that were used. Of course, there were also fun theories that the heat was being given off by ancient technology buried deep beneath the pyramids. Experts had been actively searching for hidden chambers in the pyramids. A team of architects and scientists from Egypt, France, Canada, and Japan conducted the thermal survey using sunrise and sunset. So they took advantage of the temperature changes as the sun heated the limestone and then allowed it to cool down. The ministry found that there were these thermal anomalies during their observations. One heat spot was found on the eastern side of the Great Pyramid. The stones there showed a distinct difference in temperature compared to others, hinting at something beneath the surface. This discovery was what eventually led to the Operation Scan Pyramids project, where they found that hidden corridor in the Pyramid of Giza that I mentioned earlier. This guy paraglided over the Egyptian pyramids. Take a look at this. Just earlier this month, a 35-year-old paramotor pilot named Yanis Terzis flew over some famous Egyptian landmarks, including the Great Pyramid of Giza and the Sphinx. It's incredibly breathtaking footage, and I am incredibly jealous of this man. At one point, he got up close enough to see the symbols etched onto the top. That is incredible. That's a part of the pyramids we never get to see. I didn't even know there was stuff written on the top until today. As Terzis stated, most of the paramotor pilots fly high for safety precautions. Sometimes I like to get a little bit risky on my flights and go close to the ground and over the building to get amazing shots and videos. And an amazing video he got. He also went on to say, on the pyramid flight, I had the intention of touching my foot tip over the pyramids. That was something unique that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life.
وأحب أن أؤكد أننا مستمرين في العمل.
That was Ahmed Issa, the Egyptian Minister of Tourism and Antiquities, talking about a discovery that had just been made in the Great Pyramid of Giza, a hidden corridor that had been sealed off for thousands of years. Using advanced scanning technology, researchers revealed a hidden corridor that measures about 9 meters long and 2 meters wide. This corridor is located on the northern side of the pyramid, just above the main entrance, and it's sealed off, meaning it can't be accessed from the outside. It's believed to date back about 4,500 years. The discovery was announced by Ahmed Issa and the famous Egyptian archaeologist Zahi Hawass during a ceremony held at the pyramid. The Scan Pyramids project, which uses cutting-edge scanning methods to explore unexplored areas of the pyramids, was responsible for uncovering this chamber. Experts from France, Japan, Germany, and Canada collaborated on this project using 5 non-invasive techniques to analyze the structure without disturbing it. Still waiting for an update on this story. At this point, we still don't know what was actually hidden in the corridor, if anything, and we don't really know what it was used for, but they're still looking into it. Hopefully we'll get an update soon. Just back in May, a team of researchers from Japan and Egypt uncovered what they're calling an underground anomaly while studying the area beneath the Western Cemetery of the Giza Pyramid Complex. The Western Cemetery, which is located close to the Great Pyramid, contains a bunch of mastabas, which are rectangular tombs made of limestone or mud. But one section of the cemetery has been largely untouched, a flat area without any visible structures. Curious about what might be buried there, the research team used ground-penetrating radar and electrical resuscitivity tomography, or ERT, to scan the ground. And they noticed this odd density under the surface, as if something man-made had been buried below. The researchers identified 2 distinct underground structures, one shallow and one deep. The shallow structure is L-shaped, just under 2 meters deep. The deeper structure is even more mysterious. The team is seeking to excavate the site to find out what these structures are. Who knows what they'll find down there? All I know is I am impatiently waiting. The biggest mystery about the pyramids, and really one of the biggest mysteries in the world, is how they were built. There have been some interesting theories over the years, but just back in May, scientists made a huge breakthrough. A research team from the University of North Carolina, Wilmington, thinks they've found clues to a long-lost branch of the River Nile, now buried beneath desert and farmland. A river that might have played a big role in transporting material for the pyramids. For years, archaeologists have suspected that the ancient Egyptians used a nearby waterway for transporting heavy stone blocks, but they didn't really know where this river could have been. To uncover the mystery, the research team combined radar, satellite imagery, historical maps, geophysical surveys, and sediment coring to create this detailed map of the river branch. The area is thought to have been buried by a major drought and sandstorms thousands of years ago. Radar technology allowed the researchers to penetrate the sand surface and produce images of hidden features, revealing buried rivers and ancient structures near where many pyramids are located. The river branch, dubbed the Aramat branch, Aramat meaning pyramids in Arabic, was found to border 31 pyramids built between 4,700 and 3,700 years ago. This means that the river was likely used to help transport material for the pyramids. Dr. Suzanne Onstein, a co-author of the study, stated that locating the actual river branch and having the data that shows there was a waterway that could be used for the transport transportation of heavier blocks, equipment, people, everything really helps us explain pyramid construction. She went on to explain that the river would have allowed the ancient Egyptians to, quote, use the river's energy to carry these heavy blocks rather than human labor. Back in September of 2023, a bunch of hidden chambers were found in an ancient Egyptian pyramid. This pyramid, built around 4,400 years ago for Pharaoh Sahur, is located in the Abusir necropolis in northern Egypt. The pyramid has been undergoing restoration since 2019 to stabilize it and clean out its interiors. And as workers were clearing away debris from a collapsed corridor, they stumbled on these hidden chambers. The spaces were likely storage rooms, which might not sound as thrilling as finding a hidden treasure, but they're important for understanding how the pyramid was designed and used. The pyramid's tunnels have been blocked since its first excavation in 1836, and now, almost 2 centuries later, researchers had access to areas that have been hidden for ages.
Number 5. The Tomb of Queen Ty. In 1903, Victor Loret uncovered the tomb of Queen Ty, the wife of Imhotep III, in the Valley of the Queens. Now, what makes this discovery so intriguing here is how simple and modest this tomb is, especially when you consider how powerful and influential Ty was. See, unlike other royal tombs, her burial site is honestly pretty plain, with minimal decoration, which of course raises some eyebrows. There are hardly any inscriptions or royal titles either, which has led some to speculate that her role in the royal court might have been downplayed or even straight up hidden for some reason. It's a mystery that only adds to the tomb's allure. I keep doing this with my hands like I'm pointing, like I'm landing an airplane. Number 4. The Tomb of Seti I. In 1817, Giovanni Belzoni discovered the tomb of Seti I, and it quickly became one of the most impressive finds in the Valley of the Kings. The tomb's scale and stunning artwork are absolutely breathtaking, but what really makes it stand out is that it's unfinished. Yeah, it's not done. Despite its grandeur, some reliefs remain incomplete, and the sarcophagus is mysteriously also missing. This has led many to wonder if the tomb was altered after Seti's death, perhaps for reasons that we'll never fully understand, being this later in the future. Now, the unfinished details and gaps in the tomb's design really continues to spark speculation about what really happened during Seti's burial. Was it foul play, or did nature just shake everything around? Number 3. The Tomb of Ramses VIII. Discovered by Richard Lepsius in 1845, the tomb of Ramses VIII is surprisingly small and much less impressive with those of other pharaohs. With incomplete decorations and very, very few artifacts, it stands out as a real enigma. An enigma? Enigmatic enigma, here we go. It stands out as a real mystery. Ramses VIII's reign was short and not well documented, which only makes his modest burial more mysterious. I mean, you're a king, why wouldn't they finish this? The lack of grand burial practices and the tomb's small size have led to a lot of speculation about why his resting place was so understated in the first place, leaving us to wonder what his reign was actually like and why his legacy was so quietly handled. Number 2. I'll count it down like Ched. Number 2. The tomb of Merneptah. Number 2. The Tomb of Merneptah. Discovered in 1903 by Ernesto Schiaparelli, the tomb of Merneptah, son of Ramses II, stands out for its detailed inscriptions, but it's the lack of treasure that really piques our curiosity. Despite being an important pharaoh who led military campaigns, Merneptah's tomb is surprisingly modest in its offerings, hinting that it may have been rushed or poorly funded. This raises questions about his reign, with some historians speculating that his rule didn't carry the same weight as his father's. I can't fill the father's shoes, classic. Others wonder if political or religious changes during his time influenced the sparse contents, leaving his legacy hiding in mystery. And finally, number 1, the tomb of Thutmose I. Discovered in 1898 by James Quibble, the tomb of Thutmose I is one of the lesser known royal burial sites in the Valley of the Kings. See, unlike other royal tombs, Thutmose I is a small tomb and it lacks many of the features associated with a pharaoh's resting place, such as extensive decorations or lavish goods, nothing like that. The modest nature of the tomb, combined with the fact that it was heavily looted, raises questions about its significance and the political climate during his reign. A lot of unanswered questions around this. The absence of detailed historical records about Thutmose I adds to the mystery surrounding his legacy, and given that it's 2024, we'll probably never know. Number 10. King Tut's tomb. Discovered in 1922 by legendary Howard Carter, King Tut's tomb is easily one of the most famous archaeological finds in history. Even though it was smaller than other royal tombs, it was surprisingly untouched by grave robbers, which is pretty rare in ancient Egypt. Inside, Carter uncovered more than 5,000 treasures, including the iconic golden mask. What makes this tomb so mysterious is how well preserved that it was. Considering that Tut's short reign and young age, nothing here makes sense. His sudden demise and the rapid burial have sparked endless theories, leading many aspects of his life and legacy shrouded in mystery. Number 9. The Tomb of Nefertari. Number 9. The Tomb of Nefertari. I've never tidied a day in my life. Nefertari. Alright, here we go, thank you. In 1904, Ernesto Schiaparelli stumbled upon the breathtaking tomb of Nefertari, the wife of Ramses II in the Valley of the Queens. Now, the tomb is famous for its stunning, well-preserved murals that showcase Nefertari's high royal status. But here's the catch. Despite the grandeur of the tomb, Nefertari herself doesn't have much of a historical footprint compared to other famous queens. The lavish artwork suggests that she was a powerful figure, yet there's a surprisingly lack of details about her and her life, or even her relationship with Ramses II. This leaves many wondering just how influential she really was in Egypt's history. Number 8. Lost Tomb of Ozymandias. In 1817, Giovanni Belzoni made a fascinating discovery in the Valley of the Kings, the tomb of Ozymandias, believed to be the burial place of the legendary Ramses II, who I just mentioned. What makes this tomb stand out is its sheer scale and unique design. Unlike many other royal tombs on our list, this one features intricate carvings and reliefs that leave a lasting impression. Pun intended. But here's the catch. The tomb had already been looted long before its rediscovery, and parts of it are still missing, which of course only adds to this mystery. There's also no definitive historical record to confirm who exactly was buried here, leaving scholars to speculate about the identity of the king and the true purpose of this tomb. The uncertainty surrounding its origins and what was lost makes the tomb of Ozymandias one of the Valley of the Kings' most enigmatic finds. Also, don't steal from tombs. Like, do you want to get cursed? That's how you get cursed. That's getting cursed 101. Steal from an ancient tomb. Number 7. The Tomb of Ai. Unearthed by the legendary Howard Carter in 1907, the Tomb of Ai, the pharaoh who took the throne after King Tut, rests in the Valley of the Kings. Now, the real intrigue surrounding Ai's tomb comes from his rapid rise to power, which is still tied to the controversial circumstance of King Tut's death. Was Ai involved, or was he simply a pawn in a much larger royal drama? Is it ancient Egypt or Game of Thrones? The tomb itself is filled with stunning artifacts hinting at his considerable influence, yet the mystery deepens when you look at his short reign and the near silence in historical records about his burial and even royal connections. Why is his legacy so vague? Was he truly a legitimate ruler, or was his rise to power more complicated than we know? These unanswered questions keep Ai's tomb and his role in history firmly shrouded in mystery. Number 6. Tomb of KV5. In 1995, Ken Weeks made a jaw-dropping discovery in the Valley of the Kings. KV5, the largest tomb ever found in that area. Thought to be the final resting place of many of Ramses II's sons, this tomb is nothing short of a labyrinth, with over 100 chambers, some believed to hold the remains of up to 50 princes. That is massive. The sheer scale of the tomb is honestly mind-blowing, but what makes it even more intriguing is the fact that it was never mentioned in ancient records. Never. So why is that? The enormous number of sons and the absence of any documentation about their burials suggests that the royal family was haunted by loss and tragedy. What exactly happened to these princes, and why is so much of their story still locked away in the shadows? The mystery of KV5 is one that continues to puzzle archaeologists, leaving more questions than answers.
Near the Pyramid of Djoser, archaeologists found 24 giant black stone boxes carved out of solid Aswan granite, material so hard that even modern tools struggle with it. These things are massive too, each weighs over 100 tons, and they're shaped like coffins. What makes it even weirder is that some of them have smooth finishes and detailed hieroglyphs etched into the surface. That's incredibly hard to do even now. So how ancient builders managed it is anyone's guess. Some believe they were used as sarcophagi for sacred bulls, but if that's the case, it's odd how much effort went into making them look almost machine cut. The level of precision is really what throws people off. It just doesn't match what we expect from that time period. That's why some people think the Egyptians had access to, advanced technology that's been lost to time, or maybe never even came from here in the first place. For years, people have wondered how the ancient Egyptians moved these massive stone blocks to build the pyramids. One theory is always been that they floated them in on boats using a now lost part of the Nile River. Well, in 2024, researchers may have actually found it. A team from the University of North Carolina, Wilmington used satellite radar, old maps, and underground scanning technology to piece together evidence of a hidden river branch buried under desert and farmland. They're calling it the Aramat branch. Aramat means pyramids in Arabic, and it lines up almost perfectly where 31 pyramids were built thousands of years ago. The river probably got buried by sandstorms and droughts over time, which is why no one spotted it before. But back when the pyramids were going up, this waterway would have been right there, basically like a construction highway. According to the researchers, it would have made hauling those huge blocks way easier. They could just use the river's current instead of dragging stuff across the desert. In 2020, archaeologists hit the jackpot in Saqqara just south of Cairo, and they found 59 sealed sarcophagi buried in 3 vertical shafts. Most of them still had mummies inside, and they were over 2,600 years old. As for who was buried, there were priests and other high-ranking officials and elites from ancient Egypt. Egypt's antiquities minister at the time, Khalid El-Anani, even opened one of the coffins live in front of reporters. You can hear him in the footage saying it's completely sealed, hasn't been opened since it was buried. So that's over 2 millennia without anyone laying eyes on it. They also found 28 statuettes of Putal, who is the god of craftsmen, and a bronze statue of the god Nefertim. That one had a name engraved on it, a priest called Badi Amun. So yeah, this is a big one. In March of 2025, researchers from Italy and Scotland announced they'd use satellite radar technology called synthetic aperture radar, or SAR, to detect what looked like a large underground complex deep under the Giza pyramids. According to them, this complex includes shafts, chambers, and spiral tunnels that could stretch over 2 kilometers long and go as deep as 2,100 feet underground. The team said it might be some kind of ancient subterranean city or network connected to the pyramids, but some experts, including Egyptologist Zahi Hawass, have strongly rejected this, saying that SAR technology isn't reliable enough to see through that much rock and sand that deep down. On top of that, the findings haven't been published in any scientific journals or gone through peer review, which means other scientists haven't been able to check to confirm the results. Radar experts have pointed out that the images might just be natural underground formations or errors caused by how radar signals behave underground. So because of this, most archaeologists consider the story to be unproven and even misleading, but I'd love to see a project get funded to actually dig down there and see what's going on. I mean, with all the mystery surrounding ancient Egypt, you really never know. The SciDep collaboration, SciDep standing for Science and Innovation for the Development and Exploration of the Pyramids, started a new project in 2025 to scan the Khafre pyramid using muon detectors. Muons are tiny particles from space that constantly hit Earth and can pass through stone, but they get blocked by more denser materials. By measuring how many muons get through different parts of the pyramid, scientists can create a kind of 3D X-ray image of what's inside without actually digging. They set up detectors inside the pyramid's burial chamber and outside around the base to get multiple views. This method builds on earlier muon scans done at the nearby Khufu pyramid, where a large unknown chamber called the Big Void was discovered. We covered that in part 1. The goal of the SciDep project is to find any other hidden chambers and tunnels inside Khafre. The project is ongoing, but it'll take time before the results are analyzed and shared. A research group using something called synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography, basically a type of advanced underground scanning technology, claims they've found 8 massive shafts buried deep under the Khafre pyramid. Shafts that go down around 2,100 feet. Along with those, they said they picked up signs of 5 strange pillar-like formations shaped like the ancient Egyptian Djed symbol. The Djed is a sacred symbol in Egyptian mythology that looks like a column with a stack of rings or ribs near the top. It was associated with the god Osiris and symbolized strength, stability, and the idea of eternal life. Along with those, they found some cube-shaped chambers. There's a lot of doubt surrounding all of this, though. The radar they used can scan through ground pretty well, but detecting very specific structures that deep through thousands of feet of rock and sand is pushing the limits of what it can do, and on top of that, nobody's actually excavated the area to confirm anything, so for now, archaeologists are calling it a cool possibility, but without proof, this one sits in the maybe pile for now. A supposed alien mummy found inside an Egyptian pyramid. According to the article, the creature was discovered near Lahun in a pyramid tied to Pharaoh Sanerset II from the 12th dynasty. The thing was about 5 feet tall and supposedly over 2,000 years old. Now, the story came from anonymous sources. Someone from Egypt's Department of Antiquities apparently confirmed it, but also didn't want to be named. The researchers said the mummy didn't look human at all though, with huge eye sockets, a narrow face, tiny mouth, almost like a reptilian alien. And near the body they supposedly found inscriptions calling it Osirinet, which they said meant something like sent from the stars. Of course, a lot of people think this is just a hoax. I mean, nobody's really taken credit for this discovery, but if it was real, it wouldn't be the first time a weird-looking mummy turned up in Egypt. So legend goes there's a massive underground labyrinth in Egypt that nobody can find. Ancient writers like Herodotus and Strabo swore it was real. They said it was located near the pyramid of Amenemhat III at a place called Hawara. According to Herodotus, this thing had over 3,000 rooms. 3,000! All connected through tunnels and chambers, and such a confusing layout that people would get lost inside. Herodotus claimed it was so impressive it rivaled the Great Pyramid itself. Statues, kings' tombs, decorated halls, it was all in there. Strabo also backed up the story, saying it was the most complex structure he'd ever seen in Egypt. But nobody knows where it is now. Something earthquakes might have collapsed it, but whatever the reason, it seems to have just vanished from history. But if the place ever gets uncovered, it could be one of the biggest finds in ancient Egypt, no question. And speaking of, news of this just came out recently and it could be a big deal. A group of researchers from Egypt and Japan used ground-penetrating radar to scan part of the Western Cemetery near the Great Pyramid. That radar works by bouncing waves into the ground and measuring what bounces back. Kind of like sonar, but for dirt. It helps build a 3D map of what's underground. Anyway, they picked up a patch of land that looked totally empty. No tombs, no visible structures, but something felt off. The ground density didn't match the rest of the area, and sure enough, radar picked up 2 underground structures, one shallow and one deeper. The shallow one is shaped like an L, about 33 by 49 feet, and just under 7 feet below the surface. The deeper one, around 30 feet down and a bit smaller. What really got them excited is that these shapes don't look natural. The lines were sharp and the way they were laid out made it seem like they were built intentionally. Right now they're still trying to figure out what exactly is down there, but if it turns out to be some kind of hidden complex, could lead to a bunch of new discoveries. Most of us have seen photos of the pyramids, but one guy got a view hardly anyone ever sees, from above. His name is Yanis Terzis, a paramotor pilot who flew over Egypt's most famous landmarks, including the Great Pyramid of Giza. And the footage is pretty insane. At one point he gets really close to the pyramid's tip, like foot almost touching it close. You can actually see symbols etched into the top. Yeah, it turns out there's writing up there. I had no idea. Most people stay high up during these flights for safety reasons, but Terzis wanted the shot, so he dipped low to get that amazing view. So this next one's from the tomb of a guy named Penuit, a high priest and royal scribe who served under Pharaoh Ramses VI during Egypt's 20th dynasty. His tomb was discovered in the ancient site of Aniba in Nubia, which was once part of Egypt's southern territory. Penuit's whole thing was being super loyal to the pharaoh, and apparently he expected the same kind of loyalty and respect after death too, because on his tomb he left behind this threat to anyone who dares mess with it. The curse says, "He shall be miserable and persecuted." Pretty self-explanatory, not very theatrical, but sometimes blunt is just the way to go. No birds getting their necks twisted this time, nothing divine or otherworldly, it's just human suffering. What's also interesting is how personal his tomb is. The inscriptions go on about how devoted he was to Pharaoh and to the temple of Aniba, and there's this undertone of, I did everything right, so just don't screw with me. Right now, we're talking about Thutmose I, one of Egypt's earlier pharaohs of the 18th dynasty, the same line King Tut came from. He ruled around 1506 to 1493 BCE, and he was a big deal. Expanded Egypt's borders, built temples, basically helped set the stage for the empire's golden age. He was originally buried in KV-38 in the Valley of the Kings, but his daughter Hatshepsut later moved him to KV-20, probably to be near her own tomb. Anyway, carved into the walls of his burial site is a curse that also gets straight to the point. He shall have no heir. Again, this was a serious insult back then. Well, serious warning. Losing your bloodline, your legacy, that was worse than death in ancient Egypt. This wasn't just about stopping tomb robbers from grabbing his jewelry. It was a threat to wipe your family off the map for even thinking about disturbing. Egyptians believed strongly in the afterlife. Having no heir meant no one to perform the rituals you needed to make it to the other side. The Egyptians didn't just build pyramids, they also built these flat-roofed tombs called mastabas, and over 160 of them have been found at Saqqara alone. Some are pretty standard burial sites, but a few come with some pretty creepy warnings carved into the walls. These curses were meant to scare off tomb raiders and anyone who dared to enter without permission. According to one professor from the American University in Cairo, some of these inscriptions go after impure persons specifically, calling on the gods to deal with them harshly. And by harshly, we mean by having their neck wrung like a goose, for example. Pretty brutal. Next up, we gotta talk about the most famous tomb curse of them all, King Tut's. His tomb was discovered in the early 1920s in the Valley of the Kings, an ancient Egyptian burial site that goes back to around the 16th century BCE. The find was led by British archaeologist Howard Carter and financed by Lord George Carnarvon. It was a huge deal at the time. It got worldwide attention, but it didn't take long before whispers of a curse started floating around. The curse supposedly said that anyone who disturbed the tomb would die. And then, right on cue, basically, Lord Carnarvon died of BLOOD poisoning not long after stepping inside. And over the next few years, more people connected to the dig started dying suddenly. Arthur Mace, one of the excavators, died from arsenic poisoning in 1928. Richard Bethel, Carter's personal secretary, was found smothered in his bed. Douglas Reed, who helped x-ray the mummy, dropped dead not long after. Even though Howard Carter himself somehow dodged the curse for a while, he would eventually die of Hodgkin's lymphoma in 1939 at the age of 64. Coincidence? Probably. I mean, everybody dies at some point, but when you see that many people drop after messing with the same tomb, definitely does make you think. Let's dig into one of Egypt's grittier curses from a lesser-known pharaoh, Meribur Kheti, who ruled during the chaotic First Intermediate Period around 2160 BCE. Not much is known about him, but his tomb left behind this warning: "He shall be cooked together with the condemned." Pretty grim. A promise that if you mess with his tomb, you'll end up in the same fiery pot as the condemned. Conjures up some pretty classically hellish imagery, right? This one taps into that deep fear of disgrace in death, not just dying, but ending up dishonored and burned along with the worst of the worst. Back then, and to some degree still today, fire also meant total erasure. Here's a pretty unsettling one found in several Old Kingdom tombs. Cursed be those who disturb the rest of a pharaoh. Death by a disease no doctor can diagnose. Ancient Egyptians knew that disease was scary because it was mysterious and pretty much untreatable back then. So instead of mythical, otherworldly torment, they were talking about the very real terror of sudden, inexplicable illness. I think this is the one that creeps me out the most. I really like it because it hits on that body horror kind of level. It preys on that fear of medical helplessness. There's just no escape from your own decaying body, which is a horrifying thought. And true. Harkuf was an important guy during Egypt's 6th dynasty. He governed Upper Egypt and led major trading missions to Nubia. His tomb includes a warning for anyone thinking of messing with his final resting place. Carved into the tomb entrance, it says, "As for any man who shall enter into this tomb as his mortuary possession, I will seize him like a wild fowl. He shall be judged by the great God." Now that phrase might not sound all that intense compared to some of the other stuff we've heard on the list, but in ancient Egypt, being seized like a wild fowl and judged by the great God were serious threats. When Harkuf mentions the great god, he's probably talking about Osiris or Ra, meaning if you messed with his tomb, it wasn't just bad karma, you were basically asking for judgment from the gods themselves. What's cool about this one is also there's a mix of tones. There are inscriptions where he talks himself up earlier on, mentions the good he did, then flips straight into I'll grab you like a wild bird and let the gods sort you out, and it's not going to end well for you. Alright, so let's talk about Pepi I, one of the pharaohs from Egypt's 6th dynasty. His pyramid is in Saqqara, and while it's not as flashy as some of the bigger ones like Giza, it's got one thing that makes it way more intimidating: a curse. Carved into the walls is this nasty warning to anyone thinking of messing with it. The inscription says the violator will lose their estate, be cursed, and literally eat their own body. Yes, that's the actual quote. And it doesn't stop there. The curse also name drops the gods Horus and Nephthys, calling on them to help bring ruin to the poor idiot who steps out of line. Now, this isn't some vague bad stuff will happen kind of warning, right? This one lays out a full destruction plan. You mess with Pepi's final resting place and you don't just get haunted, you get disowned, cursed, and of course, horrifyingly, you'll just eat yourself, apparently. Now, the reference to eating your own body, it's probably not meant to be taken that literally. It's more like you'll waste away so badly, it's like you're devouring yourself, but still, it's pretty dark. Next is the tomb of Kantika Ikeki in Saqqara, and this guy was not playing around either. His curse doesn't bother with subtlety at all, it goes straight for the neck, literally. The warning carved into the wall reads, "As for all men who shall enter this, my tomb impure, I shall seize his neck like a bird." So you show up impure, he's grabbing your throat and snapping it like a goose. Now, impure in ancient Egyptian terms could mean anything from not being ritually cleansed to showing up after doing something sketchy like stealing or lying. Saqqara is packed with tombs like this, and a lot of them have protective texts. According to archaeologists, the colorful hieroglyphs in these tombs weren't just for decoration. These were the ancient Egyptians' versions of security systems, designed to scare off tomb robbers. If the gods didn't get you, the dead themselves would. Enktifi was a local governor during a pretty chaotic time in Egypt called the First Intermediate Period. He ruled a stretch of land along the Nile and was basically in charge of keeping order while the central government was falling apart. When he died, he was buried in a tomb at El Moala, and let's just say he was not playing around when it came to protecting it. He left behind a curse carved right into the wall, saying, "Any ruler who shall do evil or wickedness to this coffin, may Hemen not accept any goods he offers, and may his heir not inherit." What does that mean exactly? Well, basically, if you screw with his coffin, the god Hemen, which in ancient Egypt was like being spiritually blacklisted. And on top of that, your kids would lose the right to inherit anything from you. In ancient terms, getting on the god's bad side meant losing everything. And with no heir, your entire legacy would just vanish. So in their world, legacy was everything. Having your name live on through your kids and getting proper offerings in the afterlife meant peace for eternity. So Enktifi's curse made sure that anyone thinking of robbing him knew exactly what they'd lose.
In the middle of nowhere, satellite images picked up what looked like ruins. Then the military moved in. Bir Qasaiba lies deep in the western desert near Egypt's border with Sudan. In 2010, remote sensing archaeologists discovered strange stone formations that looked like streets, homes, and even temple foundations. But before excavations could begin, the Egyptian military took control of the area. They claimed that the site was in a sensitive border zone, but the local tribes say the ruins have always been considered cursed. Some even speak of ancient lights in the sky and how travelers who stayed overnight there never came back the same. No one is allowed in, and no research is allowed out. You may recognize the name from Indiana Jones, but the real city of Tanis holds secrets no movie could explain. Once a mighty capital of Egypt's 21st and 22nd dynasties, Tanis was home to massive temples, golden tombs, and advanced water systems. But as the Nile shifted course, the city was slowly abandoned and forgotten. Archaeologists uncovered parts of it in the 20th century, massive stone blocks, cryptic sarcophagi, and structures unlike others in Egypt. But then, work abruptly stopped. The reason? severe flooding, according to officials, but satellite images show large portions of Tanis still visible and military equipment near the site. Some believe Tanis was intentionally reburied due to what was found in one of its untouched tombs, items that don't appear to be of Egyptian origin. For years, rumors swirled of chambers beneath the Sphinx. Then, someone found them, and the Egyptian government said nothing. In 1999, British explorer Andrew Collins uncovered what appeared to be an entrance to a cave system near the Sphinx at Giza. This lined up with ancient writings that spoke of a hall of records buried near the monument. Collins' team, using ground-penetrating radar, found deep voids stretching beneath the plateau, but shortly after their discovery, Egyptian officials locked down the site and denied any significance. The caves still haven't been fully mapped. Some claim the chambers hold scrolls from a lost civilization, others say what's down there is too dangerous or too world-shaking to ever reveal. An ancient desert city said to be destroyed by divine wrath was allegedly rediscovered, then quickly erased. Iram of the Pillars is mentioned in the Quran and in Arabian legends as a wealthy city that defied the gods and was swallowed by the desert. In the 1990s, satellite scans by NASA revealed what appeared to be an ancient trade route and a buried city in southern Egypt's desert near the Libyan border. Initial excavations uncovered pillars, massive stone blocks, and what looked like ziggurat-style structures completely unlike other Egyptian architecture. Then, suddenly, operations ceased. No reports, no photos. The site was declared a national security zone. Some believe Iram was a city that predates dynastic Egypt, and rewriting history that far back might be something authorities just aren't ready to do. In 1901, explorers claimed to find an underground city near the temple of Seti I in Abydos, and then vanished from history. Abydos is one of Egypt's most sacred sites, believed to be the gateway to the afterlife. Beneath it, a hidden entrance led to what early 20th century explorers described as vast tunnels, rooms, and what appeared to be an entire underground complex. This city was rumored to contain depictions of strange flying machines, gods with elongated skulls, and advanced tools carved into the stone. Today, the Egyptian government admits that there are tunnels under Abydos, but exploration is strictly forbidden. Officials cite collapse risks, but no new permits have been issued in over 70 years. What lies beneath Abydos may not just rewrite history, it might question who really built it. Egypt holds more secrets than we'll ever fully know, and these cities, hidden, sealed off, or simply erased from maps, are a chilling reminder that history isn't always in the textbooks. Sometimes it's buried on purpose. It's been called the Atlantis of the Sahara, an oasis city that appears in medieval texts but disappears from every map. Zerzura was first mentioned in Arab texts as a white city west of the Nile, said to be filled with treasures, strange architecture, and even magical guardians. European explorers in the early 20th century launched expeditions to find it, and some claimed they did, but here's the twist. The Egyptian military now strictly controls large parts of the desert where Zerzura was supposedly located. Satellite imagery has picked up curious formations near the Gilf Kabir Plateau where ancient tracks seem to lead to nowhere. Some believe the ruins are there, but access to this region is tightly restricted. The mystery of Zerzura remains off-limits and highly classified. A massive underground network was discovered beneath Abu Sir pyramids, but no one is allowed to enter. In the 1990s, Egyptian archaeologist Dr. Zahi Hawass confirmed the existence of tunnels beneath the ancient site of Abu Sir. These tunnels lead to chambers far underground, some filled with water, others completely sealed, and local legends say a lost city once stood here, later swallowed by sand and time. When a team attempted to explore deeper with advanced tech, they were suddenly shut down by Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities. No official reason was given, but whispers of dangerous air quality, unexplained deaths, and unstable structures started to circulate. Whatever lies beneath Abu Sir is there to stay, at least for for now. This entire city was lost for over 1,000 years until it was discovered under the sea and instantly restricted. Heraklion was once one of Egypt's grandest port cities. It was the gateway between the Nile and the Mediterranean, filled with temples, palaces, and statues that rivaled Thebes. But in the 2nd century BC, it sank into the sea, literally. In 2000, French archaeologist Frank Gaudio rediscovered Heraklion under 30 feet of water off the coast of Alexandria. What followed was a massive recovery effort, but only parts of the city have been explored. Why? Because the site is now patrolled by the Egyptian Navy. Military presence and murky restrictions have kept researchers from accessing deeper ruins. Some believe there's a temple buried in the silt that contains forbidden knowledge or sacred texts, but unless the government lifts its hold, those secrets will stay sunken. It's one of the most ominous pyramids in Egypt, and the strange ruins around it are completely locked down. The Black Period of Amenemhat III, located in Dashur, is rarely talked about. Why? Because the surrounding settlement, believed to have once housed thousands of workers and priests, has been completely fenced off for decades. Local accounts describe deep shafts and strange inscriptions that don't match other Egyptian writings. Researchers have reported bizarre magnetic anomalies in the area, and rumors say multiple archaeological teams have gone in and never published their findings. The site is under government watch and no further digs are allowed. Some claim it's due to safety, and others whisper it's because what was found shouldn't have been. Herodotus once described a labyrinth so vast it made the pyramids look simple. Archaeologists found it, but were then told to stop digging. The Hawara site, located in the Fayum Oasis, is home to the Pyramid of Amenemhat III, but below that lies something far more bizarre. A vast underground structure described by ancient historians as a labyrinth of 3,000 rooms. In 2008, radar scans by a Belgian-Egyptian team confirmed the presence of enormous chambers beneath the ground, but right after their findings were published, the excavation was suddenly halted. Egypt's authorities stated concerns about groundwater and preservation, but skeptics believe that something more was found, something that made authorities nervous. To this day, the site remains sealed and no permits are granted.
After 2 decades of digging, archaeologists have uncovered a burial chamber that hadn't seen the light of day in nearly 4,000 years. The team, led by Professor Joachim Kahl from the Free University of Berlin, discovered the tomb of a woman named Idi, a priestess of the goddess Hathor, a powerful regional governor in ancient Egypt. The discovery was made in Asyut's necropolis, a massive burial ground in central Egypt. Idi's chamber was sitting deep inside her father's enormous tomb, hidden behind a stone wall, about 14 meters down a vertical shaft. While grave robbers had looted the tomb in ancient times, most of Idi's burial goods were still here. The researchers found 2 beautifully decorated coffins, one sitting inside the other, both made of imported wood. The coffins are covered with detailed artwork and inscriptions far more elaborate than most from the same period. According to the university, the texts on the coffins include religious passages, offering lists, and priestly titles, which may shed new light on how women were seen in ancient Egypt and how knowledge was passed down through families. Also found in the tomb were wooden figurines, a dagger, food offerings, and jars that once held Idi's organs. A massive discovery was just recently made near the area where King Tut's tomb was found. This time, it's a series of tombs and burial shafts that date back around 3,600 years. The find has experts rethinking what they thought they knew about ancient Egyptian history. So the discovery was made by the Zahi Hawass Foundation for Antiquities and Heritage, a group led by famous Egyptologist Zahi Hawass. Take a drink every time you hear his name in this video. His team found a large underground burial site carved into the rock under the ancient city of Luxor, near Queen Hatshepsut's funeral temple. Queen Hatshepsut ruled Egypt from 1479 to 1458 BCE and was one of the first female pharaohs in history. Archaeologists Archaeologists have been working at the site since September of 2022 alongside Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, and the dig finally paid off for them. Inside the newly discovered tombs, they found wooden coffins, including one belonging to a child, along with toys made from clay. There were funerary masks, amulets, archery bows. Hawass says this discovery could reconstruct history, helping researchers better understand how regular people lived, what they believed, and how they were buried. Unlike King Tut, who was buried in a built tomb, these chambers were carved directly into the rock, blending into the landscape. So it turns out, even after 5,000 years locked inside a sarcophagus, Egyptian mummies don't smell as bad as you'd think. In fact, they actually might smell kind of nice. Scientists recently studied 9 ancient mummies and found that their scent could be described as woody, spicy, and sweet. The team says the smells are the result of oils, waxes, and balms used during the mummification process, things that were meant to help the soul pass peacefully into the afterlife. Cecilia Bembebre, one of the researchers, said they're now working on recreating the smell to be featured at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo so that visitors can sniff history. We want to share the experience we had smelling the mummified bodies, she told the BBC. That's a sentence you just aren't going to hear every day. The team didn't damage the mummies to get the scent. Instead, they inserted this tiny tube into the sarcophagus and used a technique called the gas chromatography to analyze the air. This allowed them to detect the different scent molecules without ever touching the body. The smell doesn't just tell us what perfumes were used, it might also tell us what social class the person belonged to. Fancier ingredients, probably someone more important. Plus, the scents can actually help conservationists figure out if a mummy is starting to decay. Some smells signal the breakdown of animal fats used in embalming, which could mean it's time for a preservation check. So not only are ancient mummies surprisingly fragrant, but the scent might also help keep them around for another few thousand years. In August of 2024, archaeologists digging at the Budo Temple in Egypt's Nile Delta came across something pretty amazing. It was the remains of what looks like an ancient astronomical observatory. 2,600 years ago, the Egyptians may have been tracking the stars from this very spot. The discovery was made at the Hill of the Pharaohs, once the religious capital of Lower Egypt. But it turns out people weren't just coming here to light incense and offer prayers, they were also watching the skies and keeping track of them. At the heart of the find was a stone platform built with precise alignment, which would have probably been used to mark stuff like solstices and equinoxes. Next to it, researchers found tools that backed up their theory. One was an ancient timekeeping device used by Egyptian priests called a merkat, which would have been used by astronomers to help track the movement of stars. They also found ritual items, religious statues, and pottery from the 26th dynasty, so it looked like this place was both scientific and sacred. Now, we've always known the ancient Egyptians were obsessed with the stars, but this is the first hard evidence of an actual physical observatory dedicated to that practice. And just when you think the Great Pyramid has given up all its secrets. So in late 2023, a team from Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, working with ground-penetrating radar, found something strange beneath the sands just south of the Great Pyramid of Giza. About 16 feet underground, they picked up signs of hidden cavities, rectangular shapes where no one was expecting to find anything. The largest anomaly was about 33 feet long and shaped like a corridor or a chamber, and it's just meters away from the pyramid's southern base, right in the shadow of one of the world's most studied monuments. How something this close stayed hidden for so long is kinda nuts on its own. Now, the radar didn't show any golden statues or anything like that, unfortunately, but it did reveal multiple layers of limestone with empty voids underneath. It's pretty obvious that whatever's down there was dug out intentionally. So what could it be? Well, some think it might be a hidden passageway connected to an undiscovered burial shaft, maybe related to the workers or priests who helped maintain the Great Pyramid. Excavation is delicate and they haven't broken through yet, But this find has people pretty excited because the last time radar spotted something suspicious near the pyramid, it led to the discovery of a void inside it in 2017, the first major internal find in decades at that point. Bottom line is, whatever's under there, it's been waiting for over 4,000 years to be found. In 2021, archaeologists in Egypt uncovered what's being called the Lost Golden City near Luxor. It's believed to date back to the reign of Amenhotep III, around 3,400 years ago. Dr. Zahi Hawass, who led the excavation, called it the largest city ever found in Egypt, and that's pretty cool. The site had been buried under sand for centuries, but when the team started digging, they found well-preserved streets lined with houses, complete with walls up to 10 feet high, and artifacts were everywhere. There were rings, pottery, scarabs, along with evidence of bakeries and workshops. Betsy Bryan, an Egyptologist at Johns Hopkins University, said the discovery was the, quote, second most important archaeological find since the tomb of Tutankhamun. So again, this is very big news. One of the biggest surprises was an inscription referencing the city's original name, the Rise of Aten. It suggests the city was a major hub during Amenhotep III's reign, but was later abandoned, possibly when his son Akhenaten moved the capital to Amarna. Even with all the artifacts and structures uncovered, a huge portion of the city is still buried, and archaeologists are still working to figure out why it was suddenly left behind and what else might be hidden beneath the sand. For years, archaeologists have searched for the final resting place of Pharaoh Thutmose II, and now it looks like they've finally found it. It wasn't some grand statue or gold artifact that tipped them off either, it was a calf. More specifically, the remains of a sacrificed calf buried near the tomb site in Egypt's Theban mountain region. According to Dr. Judith Bunbury from the University of Cambridge, this was an unusual clue. When a tomb is created, all materials imbued with the magic of the pharaohs have to stay with it, she explained. These are placed at respectful distance in guardian pits or foundation deposits, end quote. Most tombs have two deposits, one on each side. Bunbury and her team had uncovered one, and while looking for the second, they hit something unexpected. We found an entrance buried by 1.5 meters of rockfall, with a step going down, then another step, and well, that's not a foundation deposit, she said. The tunnel led them to what turned out to be the last missing tomb of the 18th dynasty kings. Thutmose II's burial site had remained hidden for over 3,500 years, battered by centuries of flooding and collapse. This is the first royal tomb found since King Tut's in 1922. The chamber itself was rough, damaged by floods, full of debris, and partially caved in. But inside, the team found a ceiling painted blue with yellow stars, and on one wall, scenes from the Amduat, a funerary text reserved for royalty. First they thought it might belong to a queen, but as Piers Litherland of the New Kingdom Research Foundation said, the wide staircase and the large doorway suggested something more important. Well, then came the inscriptions. One began, Son of Ra, of his body, Thut. Another read, the perfect god, the lord of the two lands, Akheper. That narrowed it down to either Thutmose I or II, but a final inscription sealed it. A fragment reading, Great Chief Wife, his beloved Hatshepsut, may she live. And that confirmed it. Hatshepsut was Thutmose II's wife, so after decades of searching, the last missing royal tomb of Egypt's 18th dynasty is no longer lost. In 2022, something strange was found under the ancient Egyptian city of Taposiris Magna. Archaeologists led by Kathleen Martinez from the University of Santo Domingo were digging beneath a temple when they discovered a massive tunnel carved out of solid sandstone, 13 meters or around 43 feet underground, stretching over 1,300 meters or 4,265 feet. The Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities called it a geometric miracle. It's been compared to the Tunnel of Eupalinos, a 6th century BCE aqueduct on the Greek island of Samos, known for being a masterpiece of ancient engineering. Martinez's tunnel is just 1 meter shorter and it's partially underwater. No one knows exactly what it was used for yet. Kathleen Martinez has been searching this area since 2004 though, following her theory that Cleopatra's lost tomb might be nearby. This temple was dedicated to Osiris and Isis, and Cleopatra strongly associated herself with Isis. Figurines of the goddess have been found on site, along with coins with Cleopatra's face. Martinez believes this could be the clue she's been chasing for years. She told reporters, quote, "If there's a 1% chance that the last queen of Egypt could be buried there, it is my duty to search for her." Because of centuries of earthquakes between 320 and 1303, large parts of this area may have collapsed into the Mediterranean Sea, so future work will include underwater exploration. Well, they might just be getting close.
We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the sun god Aten. Back in the day, ancient Egyptians were known as polytheistic, meaning they believed in multiple gods. That was until one day Pharaoh Akhenaten was literally like, nah, we only need to worship one god and one god only. And that was the sun god. Which makes us wonder, why would Akhenaten come out of nowhere and declare this? What changed his mind? What made him believe that the sun god was the only god out there? Well, the answer might lie in the depiction of that god. Aten is depicted as a disc in the sky. Isn't that strange? What else do we know that is a disc that flies through the sky? UFOs/aliens and their spacecrafts. So theory goes that Akhenaten was greeted by this flying saucer one night and his entire view about gods changed. The aliens might have given him a message telling him that they are the only god out there and they should bow down to them. So he did as he was told to do and got everyone to worship this flying disc, aka the aliens.
Coming in at our number 4 spot, we have an Egyptian pictograph of a caped alien. This pictograph from 400 BCE pictures a man offering up some type of large fowl to what seems to be a caped alien. No one has been able to prove exactly what is being depicted here or why, but one thing to pay close attention to is the eyes. Don't those eyes look like the stereotypical ones we know from all of our alien movies, stories, and media? Yeah, they do. Without primary sources to tell us what exactly is going on here, this is a hard one not only to debunk, but even also to prove. I do really enjoy that it has the famous alien eyes though, because when I dive into the alien topic, I always try to have a healthy amount of skepticism, but I do also look for the common denominators, and those eyes are definitely common in pretty much any alien media out there. So, I don't know man, but it seems cool to me.
In our 3rd spot, we have Akhenaten's elongated skull. So I just finished talking about how Akhenaten might have been in contact with aliens, right? Well, turns out that he might have been an alien himself. People came to this conclusion after looking at depictions of him. So in all of his depictions, he is seen with an elongated face and head, a long neck, small ribs, and a protruding belly. While all the other pharaohs were drawn to look majestic and muscular. Why was he the only one depicted as so? This means that the carvings must have been an accurate representation of what he looked like. So people were like, wow, he has a lot of alien type characteristics, maybe he is one. Whereas others believe he suffered from a genetic disorder that caused his body to grow as so. But you decide what you want to believe.
And coming in at number 2, we have Elon Musk. If Elon Musk says it, then it must be true, right? Back in 2020, Elon Musk famously tweeted, "Aliens built the pyramids, obvi." And this, needless to say, caused a huge stir. Shortly after the tweet was sent out, Egypt's Minister of International Cooperation responded to Musk's tweet with an invitation to actually visit the pyramids and the tombs so that they could prove to him that the ancient Egyptians did indeed build them with no help from our alien friends. Many others went on to reply to Elon Musk's tweet, including Dr. Zahi Hawass and Dr. Sarah Parcak, and I don't think they took it as lighthearted as the minister did. Parcak replied with, "Egyptologist here, Elon, who works on a royal pyramid site. They did not. Ancient Egyptians did. Plus we have the papyrus that are like live tweets of pyramid construction at Giza. Happy to share resources so you can get yourself educated." Ooh, yeah, so while I think Elon is a very smart guy, I would actually have to be more inclined to listen to him after he takes them up on his trip to the pyramids. If he is still saying the same thing after that, then hey, you know what, maybe he's onto something. But until then, maybe just put away the phone there, Mr. Elon.
And in our number 1 spot today, we have King Tut's dagger. Upon excavating the tomb of King Tut, scientists discovered a long 34-centimeter dagger wrapped up with King Tut. It has since been given the name King Tut's dagger. How original. Now back in the day, they didn't have the capability to study the dagger without damaging it, so it wasn't touched until 1970. When an x-ray was done on the dagger, it was revealed that it was made out of some interesting compounds, primarily nickel and iron. Here's the interesting part. How could it have been composed of iron when his burial predated Egypt's Iron Age by nearly 2,000 years? So that right there is shocking. As a result of the iron and nickel composition, scientists have declared that it was made from extraterrestrial metal. Now, there are two theories here. One is that a meteorite crashed down and they used that to make the dagger. Theory 2 is that the dagger was made by aliens and dropped or left by them accidentally, or maybe even given to King Tut as a gift.
That's right, starting us off at number 10, and probably the most obvious one, is the pyramids. Just outside of Cairo in Giza, you will find some of Earth's most amazing and famous pyramids. They were apparently built more than 4,500 years ago and are actually monumental tombs of ancient queens and pharaohs. But how did human beings build these massive structures with limited technology? Answer? Maybe they didn't. Maybe the aliens did. The Great Pyramid is made up of millions of precisely hewn stones, and they weigh at least 2 tons each. This, along with the idea that 3 of the Great Pyramids line up with Orion's belt in the night sky, lead many to believe that the pyramids are actually of alien creation. Now, scientists and historians actually have a pretty good idea of how thousands of human hands could have helped create these magnificent structures, but nothing has been set in stone. So, did the aliens build the pyramids, or did we just not give the ancient Egyptians enough credit? Who knows?
In our 9th spot today, we have the tombs. Now, this one is more on the crazier side. The theory comes from the show Ancient Aliens, which is questionable but also really addicting. Anyways, ancient astronaut theorists believe that the ancient Egyptian tombs weren't just built for burial purposes. No, they were actually instructed by the aliens on how to create these tombs. If you look at old texts from back then, they talk about how they received knowledge to build tombs from the gods. Now, it's believed that the gods they worshipped were actually aliens, so there's that. Aliens told them how to build the tombs, but why? Well, they believe that this is because the tombs were a way for the Egyptians to get to the afterlife and reunite with extraterrestrials. Egyptians believed that the tombs were gateways to the afterlife. That's why they put so much time and detail into them, and they were so lavish and intricate. In the end, they would use the tomb to reunite with aliens. In fact, ancient astronaut theorists believe that our physical life is not our only life, but it's actually preparing us for another life after this one that's even greater and with extraterrestrial beings.
Coming in at number 8, we have the Abydos hieroglyphics. Now, this is either a sign of time travel, or it's a sign of aliens, or maybe it's even a sign of time-traveling aliens. On an Egyptian temple wall in Abydos, there are hieroglyphics of what appear to be futuristic aircraft, such as a helicopter and a spaceship. This specific piece is dated to be from 3,000 years ago, and I think it's pretty safe to say that there were no aircrafts that were human-made at that point. Dr. Ruth Hover and her husband were the ones to discover these amazing hieroglyphics, and they were shocked that they not only discovered them, but they also discovered them behind a wall panel that they had to break down in order to reveal the entire piece. Now, why was it hidden? Who's hiding it? Is it the aliens, or is it our human government official friends who are doing their best to conceal the secret? All we know for sure is that these markings that are there are 3,000 years old, and no human at that time had access to such vehicles that we know of.
Moving on to number 7, we have the Sphinx. So Dewey already talked about how everyone believes about the pyramids being made by aliens. Well, what about the Sphinx? Don't worry, they believe the Sphinx was created by aliens as well. I mean, how is it that they managed to create such a tall and intricate structure when they didn't have any modern day building equipment? It's quite bizarre. But that's not even the weirdest part. Back in 2018, satellite photos on Mars revealed something really freaking freaky. It appeared as if there was a Sphinx similar to the one in Egypt on Mars. That's right, you heard me correctly. The rock formation that was seen in the images eerily resembled the 200-foot tall Sphinx statue. So could it be that aliens built the one on Mars and the one in Egypt? Dun, dun, dun.
Coming in at our number 6 spot, we have hieroglyphics on Mars. Okay, so this one isn't exactly found in Egypt, but it does have a tie to Egypt. NASA recently retrieved tons of new photos from the red planet Mars taken by its Curiosity rover. When the pictures came back, many noticed these awfully strange markings on the side of a rock, the markings being rather similar to the ancient hieroglyphics that are found in Egypt. According to many alien researchers and conspiracy theorists, this is proof that the aliens had been on Earth, especially in ancient Egypt, and that they also may have come from Mars. But scientists aren't exactly on board with this theory yet. Many believe the photo to be manipulated into having the markings on the stone, and others just think that they could be strange markings that, are just are unexplainable. In the end, the only thing close to life on Mars that has been found so far is water below the planet's surface. So while that gives the possibility and opportunity for life, we still don't have any hard proof. But if these markings did turn out to be real, no one would give a heck about Martian water.
Next, we are talking about the lion cubs. There is something downright eerie about stumbling across two perfectly mummified lion cubs dating back 2,600 years, especially when they show up in a sprawling ancient cemetery south of modern-day Cairo. Archaeologists at Saqqara recently uncovered these tiny 3-foot-long bundles wrapped in linen and tucked into ornate wooden boxes. This jaw-dropping, first-of-its-kind discovery didn't come alone. The site also revealed a bizarre menagerie of mummified wildlife, including cats, cobras, crocodiles, and even a massive scarab beetle, plus over 70 delicate cat statues crafted from wood and bronze. The fact that these cubs were prepared with the same care as human mummies raises unsettling questions. How important were these animals in Egyptian spiritual life, and what purpose did they serve in the dusty halls of the afterlife? While mummified cats are old news, complete lion mummies are almost unheard of, and the rare glimpses offered by CT scans haven't solved the puzzle of which other wild cats joined their ranks. The fact that lions once roamed Egypt and even lived in royal palaces only adds to the strangeness, teasing experts with yet another ancient mystery that refuses to be neatly explained. In our number 4 spot today, we are talking about the gold-tongued mummies. In the sands of Taposiris Magna, archaeologists unearthed a secret that left them speechless. Mummies with mouths of gold. Not golden teeth, no, but tiny, perfectly crafted tongues of pure gold resting on the lips of the dead. It's like something out of an Indiana Jones movie, right? But this is real, and it has experts scratching their heads. Was this a bizarre form of ancient bling? A way to guarantee smooth talking in the afterlife? Or maybe a dark ritual we haven't even begun to understand? These golden-tongued mummies are rewriting the rules of ancient Egyptian burial practices, and with every new discovery, the mystery only deepens. What secrets did these people take to their graves? And what else lies hidden beneath the sands of time? Next, we are talking about the tattooed mummies. A time-worn priestess with intricate tattoos etched into her leathery skin isn't just a stunning find, it's a direct challenge to everything researchers assumed about ancient body art in Egypt. These permanent symbols, once reserved for modern imaginations, have turned up on mummies like the renowned amulet, raising big questions about their purpose. Were these tattoos protective charms, markers of hidden status, or some form of spiritual medicine? Decoding the mysterious ink is definitely no easy task. The complex designs refuse to yield a clear narrative, leaving us grappling with hints of a language that's been lost beneath centuries of desert dust. Next, we are talking about the elongated skull mummies. Some Egyptian mummies exhibit unusual cranial shapes that have sparked speculation. While artificial cranial deformation was practiced in various ancient cultures, definitive evidence is scarce in Egypt, and its presence would raise more questions than answers. Something about these elongated skulls stops you dead in your tracks. Egyptian mummies whose heads don't fit the mold of what we expect from the land of Nile. Archaeologists know that in some ancient cultures, people deliberately shaped skulls to achieve certain ideals of beauty, social status, or spiritual significance, but solid proof of such customs in Egypt remains elusive. If these stretched craniums were intentional, what possessed someone to transform a human skull into such an unusual shape? If not, are we facing genetic anomalies, weird burial conditions that distorted the bones over time, or something even stranger hiding in the historical shadows? And finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have the prosthetic toe mummies. There is more to a few Egyptian mummies than dried flesh and dusty bandages. Some were buried with prosthetic body parts that rival modern craftsmanship. One striking example comes from the Theban necropolis, where archaeologists uncover a lifelike wooden and leather toe built to help its wearer walk with ease. This finely engineered artificial limb wasn't just for show, it suggests that ancient Egyptians understood complex biomechanics and tailored medical solutions long before we we gave them credit for such skill. Were these high-quality prosthetics reserved for the elite, or were they more common than we might think? Each new discovery forces experts to rethink what kind of medical know-how Egyptians packed into their iconic tombs and how much there is still left to uncover. Starting off today in our number 10 spot, we have the Screaming Mummy, also known as Unknown Man E. There is a mummy whose face looks forever trapped in a silent scream. Mouth open, head thrown back, and no one knows why. Dubbed the Screaming Mummy, this grim figure found in DB 320 is an unsettling break from the polished, elegant norm of Egyptian burial customs. He got no comforting rites, no royal pomp, just a hasty embalming and a suspiciously bare-bones setup that makes his afterlife look more like a rushed cover-up than a dignified farewell. Some think he could be Prince Pentawere, mixed up in a scandalous plot against Pharaoh Ramses III. Others wonder if he was the victim of a sinister curse or a brutal crime. Yet, after all the DNA tests and forensic scans, experts still can't say for certain what forced his body into that nightmarish pose or why he ended up lying in his tomb screaming without a sound. Next, we are talking about the mysterious KV-55 mummy. A battered coffin found in the famous Valley of the Kings shouldn't look like it was thrown together at the last minute, but that's exactly what archaeologists uncovered in the tomb KV-55. A mummy so badly decayed it's a miracle any scrap of it survived. Experts have argued for ages over who this poor soul could be. Was it Akhenaten, the controversial pharaoh who dared to worship the sun, or some lesser-known royal from the same era? Sure, DNA tests link the remains to Tutankhamun's family, but that hardly clears things up. Was the burial a deliberate insult, a desperate attempt to erase somebody's legacy, or something else entirely? All these contradicting clues, the rough treatment, and the glaring lack of the usual funerary honors are a slap in the face to what we thought we knew about how Egyptian royals were laid to rest. Next, we are talking about the Unknown Woman A. Most Egyptian mummies reflect carefully orchestrated afterlives, but Unknown Woman A looks more like the aftermath of a sudden, violent disaster. Her body, found in the same location as the Screaming Mummy, has broken bones, a haphazard embalming job, and was tucked into a coffin never meant for her. She has no carved name, no fancy amulets, just desperate linen wrappings that hint at panic and fear rather than the usual reverence. Was she a disgraced royal tossed aside in political chaos, a victim of palace intrigue who ended up in the wrong tomb at the wrong time, or some tragic figure whose name wasn't worth remembering? The mystery lingers, with every crooked limb and missing inscription pushing researchers deeper into a puzzle that they still can't solve. Next, we are talking about Nespernub. Buried for nearly 3,000 years, the mummy of the priest Nespernub carried a bizarre secret that no one caught until cutting-edge scans peeked beneath centuries-old wrappings. Instead of a neat, ritual-approved burial, he ended up with a shallow, misshapen bowl cemented to his head by hardened resin. None of the known mummification customs explain this odd accessory. Was it a makeshift tool placed there to catch dripping embalming fluid that unexpectedly hardened too soon? Whatever the reason, attempts to pry it off must have failed. His skin was damaged at the back of his head, suggesting some frantic effort to remove it before the embalmers finally just gave up. They proceeded as if nothing had happened, layering the wrappings and locking this weird blunder into history, confident it would never see the light of day. Modern technology has changed that, and now experts are left scratching their own heads at this strange, unprecedented twist in ancient funerary practice. Next, we are talking about the Mother. A shocking discovery in 2021 flipped everything experts thought they knew about ancient Egyptian burials. A mummy once identified as a male priest turned out to be a pregnant woman who'd carried her unborn child for more than 2,000 years. This unexpected twist raises a swarm of unsettling mysteries. Why wasn't the fetus removed like other organs, and what did this mean for her journey into the afterlife? There's no fitting answer yet. Researchers are still struggling to make sense of the cultural, spiritual, or medical reasons behind this anomaly. Did her pregnancy grant her a unique status, or is it simply a rare oversight in the embalming process?
Coming in at number 5, 5. Why did they stop? So not only do historians question how the pyramids were built, but the other million-dollar question is, why did they stop? So the last royal pyramid was built around 1500 BCE, and afterwards, while wealthy individuals were occasionally buried in or near pyramids, pharaohs were instead buried in the Valley of Kings near Thebes. But what exactly caused the rulers of Egypt to abandon their practice of pyramid burials? We aren't totally sure. One theory is that religious changes around 1500 BCE began emphasizing building tombs underground in the bedrock rather than in pyramids. Another theory points out that because tomb robbing was a major issue, that there were far less chance that burials would be looted if they weren't placed in such conspicuous settings. Another theory put forward by engineer Peter James came after he discovered that the extreme temperature fluctuations of the Egyptian desert were causing the limestone to expand and contract, which in turn meant that the stone blocks began moving to the edges of the pyramid, which would force them to detach or break, taking the outer casing with them. He theorizes this disintegration likely happened while pyramid building was still occurring, and after spending so much time, money, and energy creating perfect monuments, this visible and rapid destruction of the perfection could have been one reason pharaohs abandoned them as burial monuments altogether. But again, it's just all speculation. Moving on to number 4, far away from home. In 2013, archaeologists in Israel found something they'd never expected to find so far away from Egypt: a 4,000-year-old Egyptian sphinx. Specifically, they found the paws of the statue, and it's believed the rest of it was deliberately destroyed thousands of years ago. But here's the thing: nobody knows what an Egyptian statue was doing in Israel. The only clue left behind is an inscription on the base that bears the name King Menkore, who was a pharaoh that ruled over Egypt around 2500 BC. Was it something that was handed over after a losing bet? We're not totally sure. It's highly unlikely that Tel Hazor Israel was conquered by the Egyptians, because at the time Tel Hazor was a trading hub in Canaan directly between Egypt and Babylon. This meant it would have been vital for the economy that the two biggest powers in the area remained on good terms. So a gift? Maybe, though it's not clear why King Menkore would have sent it or why anyone would have shattered it. All we really know is that for some reason there is a sphinx 1,000 kilometers away from the Great Sphinx of Giza. Moving on to number 3, mysterious cavities in the Pyramid of Khufu. In 2017, Scan Pyramids made a massive discovery inside the Pyramid of Khufu. With the aid of a non-invasive scanning technique that uses cosmic rays to produce 3D images, researchers discovered 2 previously unknown voids inside the pyramid, making them the first new spaces found inside the pyramid since the 19th century. But of the 2 voids, the larger one was particularly interesting. Not much is known about this larger chamber. It is apparently unlikely to be a burial chamber, but historians theorize it could be a second grand gallery, or more intriguingly, hold some of the secrets to the engineering and construction behind the pyramids. But truth be told, they have no clue why it's there or what its purpose would have been during ancient Egypt, as the Egyptians deliberately built the hidden chamber to be completely inaccessible. There are no corridors or pathways connected to it, and the only way they could have put anything inside is if they filled the chamber while they were building the pyramid, then sealed it up afterward. Were they trying to hide something? We may never know. Coming in at number 2, the Pyramid of Djudefre. Son of the pharaoh Khufu, Djudefre was Khufu's successor and ruled during the 4th dynasty of the Old Kingdom of Egypt. However, it is believed that Djudefre's reign was plagued by political and religious controversies, and that he wasn't Egypt's favorite ruler. Still, he, like his father, wanted his pyramid to have the highest point of any pyramid in Egypt. But there was one problem. He didn't have the resources to build the biggest pyramid. So Djudefre used a little workaround to make sure the tip of his tomb was just a little bit taller than everybody else's, and built it on a hill. However, However, the mystery about this pyramid compared to the others is it's no longer standing. For some reason, while all the other pyramids of Egypt are still standing after thousands of years, Djedefre's pyramid has been totally destroyed, and all we are left with today is the base. Now, being a mystery and all, it's not entirely clear what's happened to it. Some think that Djedefre simply died before they were able to get much of the work done and his pyramid was left in ruins. Another theory suggests that Romans quarried it for stones 2,000 years ago, and so it was simply torn down. And the most chaotic theory is that others think that the people of Egypt simply hated Djedefre so much that they were willing to pull apart an entire pyramid just out of spite. And last up in our number 1 spot, a mysterious queen. There are of course many tombs within the Great Pyramids of Egypt, and while they're all interesting in their own right, this one in particular is still puzzling historians and Egyptologists. In 2015, archaeologists stumbled upon the tomb of a woman who was buried among the Great Pyramids of the Old Kingdom of Egypt. In her tomb were inscriptions calling her both the wife and the mother of the king. Now, they were able to decipher a few things. This woman would have been alive 4,500 years ago and would have been one of the most important and powerful people on the planet at that time. So why have we never heard of her, and why can't we figure out who she was? Historians have dubbed her Kentekawes III under the assumption that she was the daughter of Queen Kentekawes II, and think she may have been the wife of the pharaoh Neferefre and the mother of the pharaoh Mekar. But again, they don't really know, they're just guessing. Whoever she was once an incredibly powerful woman, but today she is a little more than an enigma. First up in our number 10 spot, we have construction technique. So I'm starting us off with one of the most widely known mysteries. How the heck were these things built? Although around 120 pyramids were built in ancient Egypt, there is a complete lack of records that explain how the pyramids were constructed. There are many theories, of course. Some believe the ancient Egyptians used a mixture of sleds and wet sand due to a painting in Khufu's tomb that shows men dragging a colossal statue on a sled while a person in front pours water onto the sand. Apparently, when the correct amount of water is used, it can increase the stiffness of the sand and reduce the friction between the object being dragged and the ground, making the object much easier to move. But even if that is exactly how they got the blocks to the site, how did they build the actual pyramid? Ramps are a common suggestion, but truth be told, it is just a theory and no one has been able to confirm once and for all exactly how they did it. That being said, the most entertaining theory, of course, is that aliens came down to Earth to help them, but until concrete evidence is found, the mystery endures. Moving on to number 9, the purpose of pyramids. While most historians can agree that the primary function of many of the pyramids was to serve as tombs for pharaohs, some researchers suggest that they may have had additional purposes. But what could these be? Well, some have theorized they were used as astronomical observatories or as power plants, while some even wonder if machines were somehow being used or created to harness natural energies. Of course, these theories remained completely speculative, but isn't it strange that after all this time, no one is able to say for certain the exact purpose of these colossal structures? Moving on to number 8. Queen Nefertiti. During the 18th dynasty of ancient Egypt, Nefertiti was the great royal wife of Pharaoh Akhenaten, recognized for her great beauty and respected for her immense power. Now, her and her husband were known for their radical overhaul of state religious policy, in which they promoted the earliest known form of single deity religion centered on the sun disk. And with her husband, she reigned at what was arguably the wealthiest wealthiest period of ancient Egyptian history. However, for all her fame and glory in the history books, one thing still remains unanswered: her fate after 1330 BC. You see, despite her influence, her presence completely disappears from historical records after a certain point. And to make matters more mysterious, her tomb has never been found. Some have theorized that her tomb is hidden inside the pyramids, but if that is the case, no one can figure out why it would be hidden in the first place. So, to this day, whether her tomb lies inside the ancient pyramids remains a mystery. Moving on to number 7, pyramid alignment. There are a lot of inexplicable things surrounding the elusive pyramids. As we already covered, one of the mysteries involves how they were constructed, and of course the ongoing conspiracy of alien involvement. However, another inexplicable mystery is the precise alignment they fall in. So essentially, the pyramids of Giza are perfectly aligned with the cardinal points: north, south, east, and west, with incredible accuracy. In fact, the alignment is so precise that it's difficult to explain how the ancient Egyptians achieved such precise orientation without modern technology. So many Egyptologists have of course wondered, was this alignment achieved by chance, or does it indicate an advanced understanding of astronomy? Could this be another mystery pointing towards alien involvement? Who knows? I mean, historians are probably not jumping to that conclusion, to be fair. But many have used this to back up their own theories about the extraterrestrial hand in the pie. Coming in at number 6, precision. Sort of along the lines of the mystery of construction and alignment is the precise measurements and geometry of the pyramids. Looking back, it is fascinating and a little mysterious to observe, as advanced mathematical knowledge would have to been required to achieve the level of precision shown in the pyramids. In comes the aliens. Again, we can't get away from them. There are countless speculations that the ancient Egyptians acquired this advanced knowledge from an alien species. And I mean, of course, there's no way to confirm this, but whether you believe the alien theory or not, the fact of the matter is that where and how they acquired this knowledge is still up for debate.
Next, let's talk about Egyptian hieroglyphs in general and some of the odd places they've been spotted, like on crashed UFOs, for example. The infamous Roswell incident in 1947 and the Rendlesham Forest sightings in 1980 were both said to have strange symbols carved into the sides of the UFOs. Some witnesses claimed to see what looked like Egyptian hieroglyphs on the sides of both craft, incredibly strange, and the symbols discovered on the Roswell UFO are said to have matched the ones found on the Rendlesham object. One specific design is apparently a triangle with 2 spheres that appears on both. So why would UFOs have Egyptian-looking symbols etched into them? In the Dendera temple complex, there's a famous relief with an image dubbed the Dendera Light. The image depicts a snake emerging from a lotus flower, seemingly held up by a pillar with human arms at the end. But you gotta look more closely to see that. What's immediately obvious to us modern folks is that this looks a lot like a giant light bulb, specifically a Crookes tube, an early type of light bulb that was invented in the 19th century. There's a pretty uncanny resemblance, really, but is it just a coincidence? Or is this ancient artwork actually depicting a piece of advanced technology? Another interesting thing about this one, the specific room featuring the Dendera light is the only one in the entire temple with no evidence of fire-burning lamps. In every other part of the temple, archaeologists found residues from what looked to have been lamps, but not here. So if the room was completely dark, how did the ancient Egyptians light it up? And why would they go to the trouble of carving such an elaborate image if it was just going to be hidden in darkness? Well, maybe the room wasn't pitch black. Maybe they illuminated it with some other, more advanced method. The Saqqara bird is a cute little sculpture, but it's also led to some pretty interesting conversations. Discovered in an ancient Egyptian tomb near Saqqara, this wooden figure is around 2,200 years old. Now, at first glance, it looks like, a toy bird, but looking closer, and it also kind of looks like a model airplane. The wings look a lot more like a plane than a bird's wings. So it's got people wondering, did the ancient Egyptians have some knowledge of flight? Back in 1969, an Egyptian doctor named Khalil Masiha proposed a pretty cool idea. What if this bird was actually a model of an ancient flying machine? People have crafted replicas of the artifact to test how aerodynamic it is, and some of these models have been found to glide pretty well when thrown. If it's not an ancient depiction of a plane, that kid back in the day had a pretty cool toy. Well, we're talking about another find in Saqqara. Near the Pyramid of Djoser, archaeologists came across 24 coffin-shaped black boxes carved from solid Aswan granite. This rock is incredibly tough, so tough that even modern tools have trouble scratching it. So, the fact that some of these boxes have intricate hieroglyphs etched into them is pretty impressive. Not only that, but each box is massive, weighing over 100 tons. Some people think the craftsmanship is so advanced that it feels impossible for ancient Egyptians to have done it alone. And for those who believe in alien involvement, there's a theory that these designs came from somewhere else or were inspired by something advanced. And of course, I can't do this list without talking about the Great Pyramids themselves. Now, while I'm of the belief that ancient Egyptians were just crafty and way ahead of their time, even I can't deny how enticing the idea of extraterrestrial beings assisting in their creation is. Now, aside from how incredible the pyramids are and the mystery surrounding how they were built, we also gotta talk about where they're positioned. The three main pyramids are aligned in a way that closely matches the stars in Orion's belt. The Egyptians definitely had a sophisticated understanding of astronomy. Even more fascinating is the fact that the sizes of the pyramids seem to correspond to the brightness of the stars. Two of the pyramids are nearly identical in height, while the third is about half as tall. In the night sky, two of the stars in Orion's belt shine brightly, with the third star being dimmer, mirroring the layout of the pyramids. The pyramids are also positioned in a nearly straight line with the North Magnetic Pole, so it's very impressive that an ancient civilization had such an advanced knowledge of science, geometry, and astronomy. They had to have had skills and understanding similar to what we have today to design and construct the pyramids with such perfect alignment. And again, the size of the pyramids themselves is also just remarkable. So what do you all think? Did they have some help from extraterrestrial visitors, or were the ancient Egyptians just that ahead of their time? Now, this may not look like much, but what if I told you it was made thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago? This is the Sabu disk, a very strange ancient Egyptian artifact believed to date back to around 3000 to 2800 BCE. It was discovered in 1936 in the Saqqara necropolis, specifically in the tomb of an official named Sabu, which is how it got its name. This disk is made from schist, a type of stone known for its durability, and as you can see, it has a unique design for the time. It looks very modern, like a broken piece of machinery or something. Some researchers think it could have been some sort of ceremonial object, given the fact that it was found in a tomb. Others think that it might have had a more practical function. But the advanced design of this thing might mean it could have belonged to a more sophisticated technology that's just been lost to time. And did the Egyptians even build it themselves, or was there some extraterrestrial influence? Could the ancient Egyptians have been in contact with advanced beings from another planet? Well, that's pretty much what this whole video is about. The Abydos carvings found in the ancient temple of Seti I and Abydos seem to depict this mix of traditional hieroglyphs with some seriously strange images. When you look closely, you might notice that some of these carvings look a lot like modern vehicles, like a helicopter, a submarine, a jet plane. One of the things looks a lot like the land speeder from Star Wars to me, and to a lot of other people online. The sort of eerie resemblance to things we see today, excluding the land speeder, unfortunately, has led to some wild theories. One of the most popular ideas is that these carvings were depictions of some of the ancient Egyptians' advanced technology, possibly thanks to extraterrestrial visitors. Imagine aliens coming to Earth thousands and thousands of years ago and sharing their tech with Egyptians. It's just a fun idea. And if that is true, we also gotta ask, who were these people? Or I guess, well, what were these people or things? Were they from another planet? Or could they maybe have been time travelers from our future? Take a look at this odd coin. What historical politician is that supposed to be exactly? Looks a lot like an alien to me. So there's been this story circulating online about this collection of coins found in Egypt that seem to depict aliens. The coins apparently date back to the 1st century BCE and feature a humanoid figure with large eyes, a tiny mouth, bald head, your classic gray. There are also coins with your typical flying saucer carved into them. The coins were supposedly discovered by a group of construction workers who were renovating a house in southern Egypt. Now, while digging in the basement, they stumbled on a small box filled with these coins, all in surprisingly good condition. After the find, the coins were taken to a local museum for further examination. Archaeologists dated the coins and concluded that they were likely minted in Egypt. Now, are these coins evidence of ancient alien contact? Did the ancient Egyptians carve their extraterrestrial visitors into their money? Well, sure, there are some spooky artifacts and mysteries surrounding ancient Egypt, but these coins are hoaxes. At least I'm 99.9% sure. I don't know, there's always that small chance though. Well, this is an odd looking creature, isn't it? On March 21st of 2016, a post on the website Worldwide Science Stories claimed that archaeologists had discovered a quote alien mummy inside an Egyptian pyramid. The story came from sources who wanted to remain anonymous. According to the report, the mummy was found by archaeologists near Lahoun while exploring a small pyramid linked to the 12th dynasty of Senusret II. This alleged alien mummy was said to be between 150 and 160 centimeters long, supposedly dating back over 2,000 years. Now, apparently the details about this mysterious find weren't disclosed right away. And again, a source from the Egyptian Department of Antiquities confirmed the discovery but insisted on remaining unnamed. Now, it's an odd looking mummy, definitely looks like your classic alien to me, the large oval shaped eyes, the small slit for a mouth, very reptilian, and apparently inscriptions found near the tomb referred to the creature as Osserunet, a name interpreted to mean star or sent from heaven. Now, this is a pretty controversial story, as you can probably imagine. A lot of people think this one is a hoax, but it isn't the only strange looking mummy found in ancient Egypt. There have been lots, so is it possible that there are other ones that have just been covered up? Who knows? The Thule papyrus is a really cool find. The story starts back in 1933 when Alberto Thule, who is a curator at the Vatican Museums, discovered a roll of papyrus in Cairo. This document is said to date back to the time of Pharaoh Thutmose III around 1480 BCE. But here's where it gets really strange. After Thule passed away, this scroll just vanished without a trace, and years later an Italian Egyptologist named Boris de Rechewaltz claimed he'd found a transcription of the Thule papyrus, and according to his translation, the text tells an incredible story about a day when a large disc appeared in the sky. This disc was about 164 feet long and 16.5 feet wide and gave off a really awful smell. Then more discs kept appearing, shining brighter than the sun. The pharaoh ordered incense offerings to appease the Egyptian god Amun-Ra and commanded that the event be recorded for future generations. Thus, we now have the Thule papyrus.
In our number 5 spot today, we have the lost tomb of Cleopatra and Mark Antony. Somewhere along the sun-soaked shores near Alexandria, or hidden beneath the ancient ruins of Taposiris Magna, lies the elusive tomb of Cleopatra and Mark Antony, cloaked in legend and intrigue. As Egypt's last pharaoh and her Roman lover, their dramatic love story ended in tragedy, and their final resting place has become one of history's most tantalizing mysteries. Archaeologists have been chasing whispers and deciphering clues from ancient texts, believing that uncovering this tomb could reveal artifacts of immense historical significance, perhaps even scrolls penned by Cleopatra herself. Some speculate the tomb could be an underground palace filled with treasures that surpass even those in King Tut's burial chamber. The very idea that beneath the shifting sands lies a sealed crypt holding the final secrets of these iconic lovers keeps the world watching Egypt with bated breath. Could the next spade of Earth finally unveil the hidden chapter of this epic saga? In our number 4 spot today, we have the tomb of Alexander the Great. Beneath the vibrant streets of modern Alexandria, whispers of a hidden tomb ignite the imaginations of archaeologists and treasure hunters. The lost resting place of Alexander the Great. After his death, it's said his body was brought back to Egypt, a land he admired and where he was proclaimed a pharaoh. Over centuries, the exact location of his tomb has been swallowed followed by time, earthquakes, and rising sea levels. Some speculate it could be concealed beneath ancient ruins or submerged under the harbor, waiting to unveil secrets of the Hellenistic era. Finding this tomb wouldn't just be an archaeological coup, it could potentially unearth artifacts or writings that reshape our understanding of history. The allure of unlocking such a monumental mystery keeps the world watching as each passing year holds the tantalizing possibility that Alexander's legendary tomb might finally be found. In our number 3 spot today, we have the underground chambers beneath the Sphinx. Deep beneath the stoic visage of the Great Sphinx on the Giza Plateau, tales of hidden chambers and secret tunnels abound. For centuries, locals and adventurers have whispered about what might lie beneath this ancient guardian of the pyramids. Geological surveys have revealed anomalies, unexplained voids and cavities that suggest the possibility of underground rooms or passageways. Some believe these spaces could house lost treasures or ancient texts detailing the mysteries of the pharaohs. Others speculate about connections to the mythical Hall of Records, a legendary repository of wisdom from a bygone era. The risk of damaging the Sphinx has kept these secrets locked away, as no confirmed entrances have been found to explore them. The allure of what might be concealed beneath these colossal paws continues to captivate the world. Could unlocking these chambers alter our understanding of history itself? In our number 2 spot today, we have the burial chamber of Pharaoh Amenhotep I. Hidden somewhere within the winding corridors and secret chambers of the Valley of the Kings lies one of Egypt's most enduring mysteries, the lost burial chamber of Pharaoh Amenhotep I. Despite decades of tireless excavation and exploration, archaeologists have yet to uncover his final resting place. This pharaoh ruled during a transformative period of the 18th dynasty, and his untouched tomb could be a gold mine of ancient treasures and forgotten texts. Some believe it might contain scrolls that detail the earliest practices of mummification, or even maps to other undiscovered tombs. There's talk of hidden passageways sealed by elaborate traps designed to protect his legacy from tomb robbers of the past and the present. The allure of finding Amenhotep I's tomb isn't just about unearthing riches, it's about unlocking a pivotal chapter in Egyptian history that could redefine what we know about this ancient civilization. Could the next strike of the pickaxe finally reveal the secrets that have been buried for a millennia? And finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have the unopened tombs in the Valley of the Kings. Deep within the sun-baked cliffs of the Valley of the Kings in Luxor, several mysterious tombs lie untouched, sealed since ancient times. Detected by modern technology like ground-penetrating radar, these hidden chambers remain inaccessible due to unstable rock formations and the challenges they pose. Some archaeologists speculate that these tombs could belong to lesser-known pharaohs or influential nobles whose names have been lost to history. Others whisper about the possibility of secret cults or even undiscovered dynasties concealed within. The allure is irresistible. What if these unopened tombs house untold treasures, sacred artifacts, or scrolls that could rewrite our understanding of Egyptian civilization? Each day, the desert sands shift slightly as if guarding these secrets a little longer. The anticipation builds. Could the next archaeological breakthrough finally unlock these silent chambers and the mysteries that they hold?